Welcome to the NFL Saturday Podcast. This is Amp.
And I'm Scotty.
And we're here to catch you up on fantasy football for the week. And we'll have some fun along the way. You never know, but today...
You never know.
Today we are going to talk about our fantasy football draft. And we'll be giving draft grades to every team in our league, including ourselves. I'm giving it to you though, and you're giving it to me. So
you're giving it to me. Do I have to take you on a date first?
You know that I meant to. You know what I meant. But before we get into the episode, are you ready for your fun fact of the day, Scotty?
So ready.
So ready. This is a super fun fact because Jared Goff is undefeated against Patrick Mahomes. Let's go. And he is 2-0. He's 2-0. So
I think I'm going to double down on your fun fact. I'm going to come back next week with either another undefeated quarterback against Mahomes or a quarterback who's never beaten Mahomes.
Oh, you're gonna have like someone that's 0-7 against Mahomes or something.
I'm gonna do some research. That's a fun fact. I'm gonna try to double it up.
Please, that would be hilarious. But yeah, they only played each other 2 times, including we're recording this on a Friday, but I guess 2 nights ago from when we upload this. But the first time was in 2018, and I don't know if you remember this game. But this was when he was on the Rams in 2018, and it was on the Monday night, and it was 54-51. It was that insane game on Monday night.
Jeez.
And this was during the fires in LA, so no one was at the game because the freeways were like on fire, so you couldn't get to the game. I actually looked at the prices for the tickets because I know I could not have gone, but I was contemplating it a little bit because they were below $100.
I wonder why they would still hold the game in those conditions.
I don't know. I mean, I guess it's only
unsafe.
It really was not safe. It was not safe for people driving there, but I guess like the actual stadium I think was safe, but it was like super overcast, so it was like a really weird environment. But the stat lines are even crazier. Goff threw for 413 yards with 4 touchdowns and no interceptions. But then Mahomes threw for 478 yards and 6 touchdowns. But he had 3 interceptions. So that was the game changer right there.
That's actually wild. Speaking of interceptions, Mahomes actually, it's crazy right now. This season, he's averaging a pick 6 a game.
I know, and he leads the league in interceptions. It's insane.
He's really fallen off. He's just not the same guy that he used to be.
Man, that game was super like frustrating to watch if you're a Mahomes fan or a Chiefs fan, and thankfully I'm neither of those things. Let's go.
Yeah, me too. I was fully neutral, but rooting for the Lions.
Oh yeah, definitely. And both of us, I mean, we'll talk about this later, but both of us hit our bets. And that was our fake bets, but we'll talk about that later more. But it was a good night. I mean, I had I was 1 for 3, but the one I hit was like, I think it was plus 321. So it was like, I profited like $7K. And then it was something like that. It was like 3 something. And then yours was also a big one too. You profited like 16K. So
I think it was I think it was 13, right?
Oh, it was 13K?
I think I won a plus 350, so I got 18K, but then I lost the other one, so that brings it down.
Got you. That makes sense.
Still solid though.
Oh, very solid. I mean, especially when most people probably failed to get bet wins, you know? Like, I feel like that game did not go how anyone expected. But, I guess you did.
I was going to say, throw a little credit my way, because we talked about it a couple of days prior, and I said, are the Lions a sneaky pick to win with no Chris Jones and no Kelsey? and you said your exact words were, I would say 100% not.
Yeah. I definitely thought the Chiefs would find a way to win. But hey, you called it. You also called the under, which I think is more impressive. I think that because I don't think anyone expected the under besides you. So
I don't know. I just whenever teams like do the same thing like over and over again, I'm more of like the streak has to break eventually, more than I'm like it's gonna keep going. Like when Derrick Henry was always getting 200 yards or 100 yards and multiple touchdowns versus the Texans. Like I was like, eventually, that's just not gonna happen again.
Yeah, definitely.
I was finally right.
Yeah. No, I mean, you were very right, and I got to give you credit. It was a great bet. My bet was easy. I think Khalif Raymond over 49.5 receiving yards should not have been like plus 300 whatever it was, because he was like essentially starting. So I thought that was crazy odds. Definitely worked out, but like I feel like yours was like a really impressive bet. So definitely got to give you props. Well, yeah,
it was close because the Chiefs had the ball at midfield twice when all they needed was a field goal to win, and they just couldn't they couldn't get those last like 15 to 20 yards. So
do you want to talk about that decision by the Lions to go for on fourth?
I texted you as soon as it happened. Their defense had been playing out of their minds the previous 2 drives. So why not just punt it, put them within the 5 and just play defense? Why are you giving them the ball at midfield?
I mean, who
the hell volunteers to give Patrick Mahomes the ball at midfield? It got to be the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
Also,
and it was
did you see
4th and 3? It wasn't just like 1 yard. They needed like 3.5.
Yeah, it was like, I don't know. It was a wild play. And I don't know if you saw this. I thought this was interesting. There's someone on Twitter when it was 4th and 25 for the Chiefs. Someone was saying that they should have intentionally ran out of bounds at their own 9-yard line, because then the Lions couldn't get like a first down and run out more time. And I mean,
but then if they get a touchdown, the game's over.
Yeah, if they get a touchdown and a 2-point conversion, the game's over.
True,
but if they can stop them, yeah. So I don't know. I thought it was interesting, but
I guess technically that's the answer, right? Run backwards to the 9-yard line. That's smart.
On 4th and 25. I mean, I know it's Mahomes though, so they're never going to do that. But
just think about like logistically, with like what was it, like a minute and a half left, and they had all 3 timeouts.
Yeah, so something like that.
They would either stop them and they kick a field goal, where they still get the ball back with like a minute and 20 seconds.
Yeah,
down by either 4 or 8, and then they just reset fresh set of downs. Dang, that's actually got to be right. Now that I think
it is.
That's got to be the correct play.
Because if they get a field goal or if they get a touchdown and then miss the 2-point, then it's over. So
they have a chance to actually still win.
Yeah. They have a chance. It's not over.
But it's Mahomes. He's done crazier stuff.
But I mean, I will just say I mean the receivers look bad, but
terrible.
But I'm wondering if Eric Bieniemy is part of it too. Do you think that is any part of it?
Now that he's not there?
Yeah.
Gotta be, right?
Gotta be, yeah.
There's only 2 factors. Only 2 things changed. No Kelsey and someone else calling the shots, right? So
yeah.
I did want to. All right. Do you know how quickly? I'm going to ask quickly.
Okay.
How lawyers will ask people on the stand a question, and then as soon as they give like the yes or no answer, they like shut it down and don't let them give like any explanation or any context.
Yeah.
So technically they gave a true answer, but there's missing information.
Yes.
All right. We're going to play that game right now. It's called Lawyered.
Okay.
You just have to answer yes or no with no explanation or context.
Okay.
If Kadarius Toney catches all of his passes, do the Chiefs win the game?
Yes. Yes.
I should have asked, is it Kadarius Toney's fault that the Chiefs lost the game?
Yeah, I'll say yes.
Either way.
Yeah,
all right, that's all
funny.
I had.
That's a good one. That could be a segment in the future.
You can't be like, well, but this.
Yeah, exactly. No further questions, Your Honor.
Yeah,
that should be the outro.
Because you're so.
I'll just I'll cut it. I'll get a soundbite of you saying no further questions, Your Honor, and just put it over whatever I try to say.
Look, ask the jury to strike everything after yes from the record.
That's funny.
That's funny.
Awesome. Well, I guess we can get into the episode now.
Let's start brutally grading our league's draft.
Well, first, it's time for your
Mr. Unlimited
moment of the week.
I knew that was that. It has to be that Sean Payton told him to stop kissing babies and focus on football, right?
I wish I knew that was a thing because that is hilarious. I did not know that was a thing. I didn't hear about this. So
all right, cut all this out
better than mine.
No, cut all this out.
I think it's better than mine. But
I'll tell you
my
about
actual one was anyone who started a Chiefs receiver.
Oh, they all did so.
They all did so bad. Every single one. I will say I was wrong about Kadarius Toney though, because I thought that Sky Moore would be better than Kadarius Toney, and I was wrong. Kadarius Toney was the better receiver. He got 1 point compared to Sky Moore's 0.4 points. So,
you know who I thought looked good? That rookie Rice.
He did, but I thought you were going to say Kelsey.
He was really hyped up on the sidelines.
Yes,
he was good for morale.
Also, it made him look so much better. I feel like I'm more excited. If someone drafted Kelsey, I would be more happy now for the rest of the season. Just this week kind of sucks, but I'm more excited because everyone else did so bad.
But it's crazy how apparent it seemingly becomes that Kelsey and Mahomes alone are the reason that team is winning Super Bowls. They're enough to open up. They're good enough to make plays and then open up everything else. When you have to freaking triple team Kelsey. Well, everyone but Kadarius Toney is catching those passes.
Yep. No, definitely. And I mean,
bricks for hands, man.
Literally everyone had a drop. I think literally Rashee Rice was the only one who didn't, and maybe Marquez Valdes-Scantling. I think he had 1 drop, but McKinnon had a drop. The freaking backup tight end, not even Noah Gray, the other one, Blake Bell, I think, had a drop. Literally every receiver had a drop. It was insane. So I don't know.
There was a meme that shows Kadarius Toney has the ball pinched in between his hands. It already looks like a completed pass. Yeah. And then the caption was this play is a pick six the other way. And you're just, you're looking at the picture and you can't even imagine it because it's literally perfectly in between his hands in perfect form, how they're taught to catch the ball. And what? How did you do that?
Yeah, it was ridiculous. It was I saw people saying they should add errors like they have it in baseball, so it doesn't count against Mahomes.
It is technically unfair that's on the stat sheet. No one else shows up. Mahomes attempted a pass to Kadarius Toney, and it resulted in a pick six. So if you forget the play and you just read the stat line at the end of the year, it just looks like Mahomes threw a pick six. I do think that's unfair.
Yeah, no, definitely. I totally agree. And also, I guess the last thing in this game that we didn't really talk about earlier was the Lions offense. I thought they looked really good in the beginning, and then they kind of petered out. But Montgomery looks like he's going to be good. Jamal Williams. Yeah, but Gibbs looked really good. I thought Gibbs, but he just wasn't getting used enough,
You could tell that he was really explosive when he got his chances.
Yeah.
He averaged 6 yards a carry last night.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I actually I think I mentioned this to you, like, because I think you're playing Gibbs, right? Again, like your opponent has
I
Gibbs.
went against him, yeah.
Yeah, I was saying like this is the perfect week to go against him because he's not going to get used as much, and I mean it kind of was the case.
he got like 8 points or something like that.
Yeah, still got 8 points. I'm definitely excited if you do have him for like later down the road. You know, I feel like later on in the season he's going to do really good.
I don't think I have any of him anywhere.
I don't either, and I'm a little scared because I have 18 best ball drafts and I don't have him once, and I'm a little worried.
You didn't get him even one time?
No, he was going so early.
He was going like second, third round when there was still so much other people that you can trust more was the thing.
Yeah, exactly. So I couldn't get him. Like I didn't want to draft him over Olave.
Congratulations to the people who took the risk, and we'll see if it works out.
Yeah, we'll see. Awesome. Anything else you wanted to mention about the game before we get into the fun?
Yeah, man. That dude false started every single play and only got called one time. Yeah. Not even just how he was lined up, which is questionable because they never show us the view across the line to see if his helmet was at the belt line, whatever all that nonsense is. But literally, and I swear I knew this watching the game. I didn't just see all the stuff after. You just know, like you just watch so much football, you can just tell, oh, that guy looked like he jumped early. And I got that feeling almost every single play.
Yeah. I mean, I don't get it. I don't know what they're.
It got called what the rest were doing. It was super obvious. Because he left like a full second early one time and got caught. But I don't know.
Which play was that? Was that the one that got called? I don't even remember.
I think they had a false start when they were 4th and 20, and then they false started to go 4th and 25 at the end of the game.
That's right. It was 4th and 25. You're right.
I think that was the time. So only then at the very end of the game, when his timing was a little bit off, and he jumped a second early instead of 0.2 seconds early, and got caught. Yeah. Whatever. Hopefully they talk about it in the middle of the week, and he won't be doing it next week. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, there was a lot of like weird offensive line stuff from the Chiefs, so we'll see, but
we shall see.
Awesome. I guess we can get into You're trying to make that catch on, huh?
So it popped into my head because you just talked about it.
You're really trying to make We Are the Enemy trying to stick.
Dude, I'm still super pumped about my team name. Because in the song she's like la la ooh la la.
That is, I know it is a good name. Yeah, I guess you can say it now because it's the other league. It's not this league that you have.
Yeah, it only works if you read my team. If you know the song and you read my team name.
La la Amon-Ra.
Yeah, I like it, man. Freaking pumped.
I know it's a good name.
I never do the gimmicky. I've just always had the same team name forever in this league. I don't think I've ever changed it, but. For some reason, when he scored that touchdown, and I was like yelling his name and celebrating, that beat like popped into my head when I said Amon-Ra, and I was like, I have to do it. I was compelled.
Yeah.
All right, we can move on.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Awesome. No, I think it's a good name.
Thank you.
But yeah, I guess we can get into the main episode topic, which is the draft grades for our draft. So this is actually a pickup line because we forgot to talk about the league settings. So it is a 12-team points per reception league, and the roster size is 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 1 tight end, and then 2 flex spots. And we only have 5 bench spots. So, yeah, it's going to be fun, interesting league. We also have fab waiver wires, so you'll have $100 to spend on waivers, which will also be fun, trying to see people outbid each other for players. And yeah, let's get back into the episode. So we'll talk about our teams as well, and we're going to only grade each other's teams. We're not going to grade our own teams. I did grade my own team, but I won't say it until you until you go through your entire rating, but I am probably very biased as well. So
I graded myself as well, and I was just like, this doesn't seem
and you
right.
gave yourself an A+.
No, I tried to be honest. I genuinely looked at my team and was like, oh, I could have improved this, or I smashed this, or this part. I was honest.
I tried to be honest, and I gave myself way too high of a rating. So,
what you're saying is you tried to be honest, but you failed.
But I failed, yes. But yeah, I guess all
right, let's rock.
So the first team is Defunk82. So Defunk82. His name is also his username. So hasn't come up with a creative name yet, but we're rolling with it. That seems to be a trend with a couple people, is they didn't actually make a name for their team yet. They just have like the default username team name.
Yeah, like Blank's groovy team, whatever. Like
yeah, exactly. But yeah, I guess first I'm just going to go through their team. They were the first overall pick, so they got Justin Jefferson first. Then they got Josh Allen, and then they got Ramondre Stevenson, and then they got Breece Hall, DJ Moore, Gabe Davis, George Pickens, David Njoku, Antonio Gibson, Alan Lazard, Raheem Mostert, Darnell Mooney, and Sam Laporta. So, don't know how many names those you picked. I know you already know the team, but
I'm looking at it.
Yeah, it's probably good to just look at it because I don't know if I'll. It's kind of hard to remember.
Yeah, it's way better names, to look at it. I have it pulled up.
But yeah, I guess So first we're gonna essentially give a grade for the starters and then a grade for the bench, and then essentially an overall grade will be kind of like averaged out. Okay. And I mean, if you did an overall grade differently, that's fine. I did it averaged out because I thought it actually kind of worked out pretty well.
I did an average, but I used extenuating circumstances. Like I didn't just average out. I didn't just average out the 2 grades. I averaged out the 2 grades, and then I was like, they made like big mistakes here where they did this really well, and I used that as a way to like round up or down.
Yeah, and also, I guess something to keep in mind is that these are just our opinions. Like, we can totally be wrong on all of these picks.
We are probably,
because we're probably going to be wrong. It really doesn't matter. It's just kind of fun to like see the grades and see how well it does afterwards. Also, the grades don't really indicate how well you performed. I mean, we might talk about like some of the people who are newer to fantasy might not have done as well in certain aspects, but better in other areas. And I think it will we'll try to incorporate that into the teams, like what parts they did well. Just because it is kind of, I don't know, it's hard to do well sometimes at certain spots in the draft. It kind of depends on the value that falls to you. Like some of the teams, I think they did really well, but like it might have been easy for them in the moment too, So it might not have been as hard to like get a great team. But yeah, I think we'll kind of talk about that and just see what values. But so I guess first for Defunct's team, what do you think about the starters on the team?
For theirs, we talked about it before we started, but we're doing a little bit of mental gymnastics here because they have, I guess Breece Hall is not guaranteed that he's starting yet, so I guess he should be on the bench. So scratch that. Start over.
I think he is actually starting. I guess the way I looked at that's a good point. The way I looked at starters was essentially who is going to be in your starting lineup, and I kind of incorporated like if you did draft someone who's not playing right away. I did kind of incorporate that into the starters. Like if down the road they'll play for you, or if like, I don't know, like for example, Cooper Kupp, I would count that in the starters. Even though he's not going to play for a couple weeks. But yeah, that's essentially how I did it, but if you did it a different way, you can keep it that way too. Because I think when you combine the starters and the bench, it will kind of it will still make the average kind of similar, to what the overall grade is. I don't know if you agree.
Yeah, it's an interesting way to look at it.
But yeah, for this first team, I really liked it. I mean, Breece Hall is playing, so I don't know how involved he's going to be, but he is playing. And I think his QB, he has an elite QB with Josh Allen. He has good running backs, solid receivers. Plus, he has Justin Jefferson. So, you're never going to go wrong with Justin Jefferson. I think yeah. And I think he has an elite upside with the team. I think the starters are great. I think he has a chance to, or they have a chance to win. I think they have a chance, and that's all you really need. So I actually gave the starters an A on this team.
Ooh,
I don't know. You gave it a B plus. Oh wow, spicy. What did you?
Close to an A.
Yeah.
Close to an A.
What did you not like? I guess.
So this also factors into why I didn't perfectly average out their overall score. In terms of I guess because it's PPR, maybe I'm being a little what's the word? Strict in that.
Yeah.
It's not. Maybe strict is the correct word, because I was gonna say it seems like he neglected the RB position.
Yeah.
But I guess with the PPR, you want to be starting as many people catching passes as possible. So B plus is fair. There's a couple players that I'm not in love with, like Gabe Davis, DJ Moore in Chicago when they don't pass a ton. So I didn't go for the full. I didn't go for the full A. But I gave him close, man. B plus. Solid. D Funk is very good.
Yeah, I might be biased too, because I do like the upside. I think DJ Moore, Gabe Davis, and George Pickens all have good upside, and also the Josh Allen, Gabe Davis stack I really like. I think that increases the upside. So if it does turn out that Gabe Davis is a lot better than we thought, I think that will just be really good and just help them get to the playoffs and make a deep run, So it's kind of my thoughts, but I like your thoughts as well. So,
but I'm gonna hurt your feelings when we talk about the bench.
Oh, okay. Well, you gave the starters a B plus. I give the starters an A. So, good to know. But I guess we can go on to the bench now. So, do you want to start with the bench since I started with the starters?
I can do it, yeah. All right. I don't like Allen Lazard.
Okay.
He's a receiver on a team with a lot of talent, and he already has Breece Hall. And there's already, he might be the third or fourth option on the team. So that's a player that's probably never going to see his lineup. He has Darnell Mooney as a backup wide receiver when he already has DJ Moore. So that's another player that probably never sees his lineup. Yeah. And Antonio Gibson could just straight up lose the job again to Brian Robinson. So I'm looking at 3 out of 5 bench positions that I don't think could ever enter his starting lineup. So I gave him a C minus.
Oh, wow. Okay. I am not. I'll just be honest. I don't agree.
You were a little more generous.
I definitely was more generous. I do agree. I don't think the wide receivers are good, but I actually really like the running backs he rostered, specifically because Mostert is with the other running backs injured or shaken up. He's going to have a couple weeks where you can start him right away, and I think that's perfect for Breece Hall. So I think that actually coordinates really well. And then I think Gibson also has the upside to take the job. I personally think Robinson will be taking the job, but I'm still open to like drafting Gibson at a value and like hoping he has the upside, and especially early on he could get more work. So I actually like those picks. I do agree though. I don't think the receivers are great. I think you only need one. So I think if I was him, I would cut Darnell Mooney and pick up another running back, because I think when you have the other receivers you already have 4 really good receivers. You're never going to really start Lazard unless there's a bye week or an injury. And even then, I don't even know if you'll start him. And you're definitely not starting Mooney over when you have DJ Moore. I really don't like Mooney, so I'm definitely cutting Mooney. I do actually like, though, I know this, I never like drafting 2 tight ends, but I actually think Sam Laporta is a good draft because you can kind of see how he does in the first week. Well, we already saw how he did. But you can kind of see maybe 2 weeks, see how he does, and then cut him if you don't like him. But I think the upside is good when your first tight end is David Njoku. I think he actually pairs well. So I actually gave him a B+. And I specifically only gave him a B+ because I don't like Darnell Mooney, and I think if he picked someone else besides Darnell Mooney as a running back, I would have liked the draft, like the bench, a lot more. Even I would have probably given him an A-. So I definitely actually I'm on the opposite boat of you, but I think that's pretty funny.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I guess it's good to have different opinions.
For sure.
I guess we can both go into our overall rating. So I don't know if you averaged mine out, but my overall rating was an A-. So I actually like this team. I think the upside is really high, and I think it is going to be a possible playoff contender. That said, what do you think the overall rating is going to be?
I super nitpicked. Like I told you, I wasn't just averaging out. I looked at other factors. Yeah. Other things you're supposed to be looking for when you draft a team. So instead of giving him I was going to do B+. I was going to do B+ starting lineup, bad bench, but I wasn't going to hold it against him. I was going to do B+. I still... There's points where I know that I could be wrong, so just because that's my personal opinion, I still was going to go. But then I looked closer, and he's super duper stacked week 13 buys, and he's guaranteeing a loss that week.
Oh, so no, that's a strategy.
I went. You think that's a positive thing?
I don't think it's a positive thing, but I know some people like doing that.
So I went from a B+ to a solid B.
Okay. B overall. Straight up B.
And if you average an A- and a B, you got a B+, D-Funk. You like your team. Good job.
There you go. Nice. So yeah, I guess.
Who's next? Who's on the chopping block?
Yeah, who's on the chopping block? That's a good question. Because I personally am a little frustrated at this owner because they left the league. And that is Easton 20. They left the league
after they drafted.
Yeah, on Thursday, it was like midday, so like noon my time. So like 5 hours before the game on Thursday, they left the league. So I was scrambling. I was ready to freaking have to auto select the lineup every week. And our savior came in, our freaking brave soul, who sadly is our savior. Soul. I only say sadly because he is a Cowboys fan, apparently. So, but all jokes aside, I thank him a lot for joining the league, or her, I guess. I thank them a lot. So, thank you, brave soul.
Thank you.
But now I guess we have to talk about the draft, and I'm going to be drafting Easton on the draft.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
Only Easton, no one else. But yeah, I guess get into the players. So first they drafted Chase. Oh yeah, what were you gonna say?
I was just looking. Nothing. Sorry, I was just looking through my list, and I initialed his team BS because I didn't feel like typing out Brave Soul.
Oh, that's funny.
Nothing against you, buddy. You saved the team. Thank you.
I know, to save the team. But yeah, first pick. So they picked second. Their first pick was Chase, which makes a lot of sense. Obviously, most people draft Chase 2 overall. Then they somehow got Waddle in the second round. Well, I guess it's not somehow. That happens a decent amount in these like redraft leagues. Then they got Etienne in the third, and then Joe Burrow in the fourth, Christian Watson in the fifth, Jonathan Taylor in the sixth round, Isaiah Pacheco in the seventh, Evan Ingram in the eighth, Michael Thomas in the ninth, Sky Moore in the 10th, Deshaun Watson in the 11th, Tyler Boyd in the 12th, and then Dawson Knox in the 13th. So, yeah. I guess, do you want to take us on how you rank the starters right off the bat?
Ooh, I get to start us off?
Yeah.
Huh. What do I do here? Because I wasn't in. I like. I'll just come out with a grade before I talk. I gave him a B minus.
Oh, okay.
I feel I went a little low. Looking back at it now, a second time, I could have been a little bit more generous. I'm not sure about Isaiah Pacheco. When they have so many other options in Kansas City, I wasn't in love with that. Sky Moore, Michael Thomas as wide receiver options. Not like super duper in love with them either. We did talk about Evan Ingram last week, and as I said, that he would be like a mid-round, like a mid-tier player that I'd enjoy having on my team.
Yeah.
You got the Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase stack. I like Travis Etienne. So a lot of positives and a couple personal things that I didn't like too much, but that's just my opinion. So instead of giving him a B, came down a little bit, gave him a B minus.
I think what I'm noticing is like, I think it's interesting because it seems like a lot of the intangibles you kind of calculated into your starter grade, which I like. I think that works, and I kind of calculated it into the bench. So it's like I think it kind of evens out for both of us. But yeah, I mean, I think B minus is that makes sense with those factors. I think you said it. And, I think there are like, it's a lot of it too is like personal opinions on players and stuff too. But I actually, gave them an A minus, and the reason why is I think the top end talent is elite. They have the Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow stack. Jalen Waddle, I love Jalen Waddle. I think he's undervalued. Etienne, I do really like. I know it's a risky pick right now because of Tank Dell, but I think the upside is good. I think Jonathan Taylor upside is great, but obviously risky. It's like a lot of risky picks, which I think is good when you want to win. You want to pick the risky players. And I mean, Isaiah Pacheco is my only. I don't like him really as essentially because Jonathan Taylor is not there. You're essentially having to start Isaiah Pacheco as your RB2, and I don't really like that. Also, you're essentially having to start Michael Thomas or Sky Moore, someone like that. So I'm definitely essentially the starters. I think that was the only down. There was like one spot that I didn't love at the end, like one flex spot that wasn't as good as the rest, which is why I gave it an A minus instead of an A, because I think the overall, I did like the starters. I thought the value was good. I thought the players were good. I thought the stack was good. And the upside is good. It's just, I don't love the last flex spot. But I really like Ingram as well. I think Ingram is an insane value in the 8th round. I did a bunch of mocks and he never fell that far, which is why I drafted a player I drafted. But yeah, I mean, great value, great pick. I don't know how they got Ingram, but yeah, I like the team overall. Yeah.
You convinced me.
I convinced you? All right, what are you going to give the starters?
I'm gonna go all the way up to a B+.
Ooh, B+. Wow.
You convinced me. Once Jonathan Taylor comes back, we should be thinking of him as a starter. If he comes back, if he plays, there's no Pacheco. That's Jonathan Taylor. The stack is huge, and we like Jalen Waddle. We like Evan Ingram. You know what? Yep, you convinced me. I'm gonna amend my pick, Mr. Brave Soul. Well, Mr.
Ooh.
Easton. You drafted a B+ starting lineup.
Awesome. And now that is about where all the praise stops, because I will get into my bench grade. And this person auto-picked their last 3 picks of the draft. And I think it showed. I think their draft is possibly, I think it's one of the worst, if not the worst bench in the league. Probably not the worst, but it's up there because I give it a C-. And I think they really messed up on not drafting more running backs. They only have 3 running backs on their team with Jonathan Taylor. I think that's insane. They don't need a backup QB or a backup tight end.
Which they have both, yeah.
They have both. I mean, they have Burrow and Ingram. I don't think you're going to start, and especially because the backup tight end is Dawson Knox, he is going to lose value as the season goes on. So there's no upside to him. Like, Dalton Kincaid is going to get better, and Dawson Knox is going to get worse. So I don't understand. I don't understand that pick at all. And I get if Burrow does get hurt, like, your season's essentially already over because you have Chase and his value is going to go down. So I don't think drafting a backup QB makes sense either.
That's a process.
Yeah, I don't like it. And then you have 6 receivers when you only have 3 running backs. I didn't get that either. I understand drafting Tyler Boyd kind of, well, I mean, it was auto-picked, but it auto-picked Tyler Boyd. If that actually was a draft pick, I kind of would get it because you have Burrow and Chase. But, like, I personally do not like drafting multiple receivers on the same team because hate it. You just never know when to start them. And if Jamar Chase is getting hurt, you're already going to lose. So there's not really any upside to Boyd unless Chase gets hurt, and then you just have like a worse version of your roster. So,
correct.
So I hate this bench. Like, this bench is everything. Like, it did not fit with their. When I was calculating the benches, it was a mixture of like players that they actually drafted, and then like how it incorporates to their team and their lineup. And it incorporated so poorly into their lineup that I gave it a C-. So yeah, that's my bench grade. What do you think?
Yeah. We don't have to talk about this one.
Did you give him a C- QB, as well?
Backup tight end, stacking receivers from multiple teams. None of it. It's like, it just looks like they have short-term memory loss, had no idea who they drafted as their starters, and as you said, it was auto-pick, so they don't incorporate that, and it shows. And I guess it's not technically anybody's fault because it was auto-draft, but I would quit this team as well if I was the owner. So we're C- is fair. We technically should give it an F, but
possibly. But yeah, I think
no draft is ever that bad.
No draft. That's the thing.
It's like pizza. Even when it's bad, it's still kind of good.
Part of the reason I don't want to go below a C- is because you never really know. Like, yes, okay, technically, if Michael Thomas ends up being a top 5 receiver, then like I don't think you can get below a C-, just because it's like it's really hard to know what's going to happen. I mean, you never know. It's not even just hard; you just don't know. So I don't think there's any reason to give a team below a C minus. So yeah, I mean, you literally never know. So
I completely agree. That's a good way to look at it.
Awesome. So you gave that a C minus as well. So I guess we can go to overall rankings. So my overall ranking was a B minus. So I gave overall B minus. What did you give?
Well, I will amend because I didn't change anything about the bench. I always had that at a C minus.
Yeah.
But then I had the starters at a B minus, my overall was going to be my overall switch now. So my overall now that's also a B minus.
B minus? Okay. Overall B minus. All right. Awesome. I guess we agree on that. Sweet. So
boom boom.
Now we talk about a team I'm excited to talk about.
Your own?
And that is Alpha Kappa Olave.
That's where we were going.
Who, yeah, I do like the name. But it is owned by Lock It Up. And I think they had a really good draft. Let me go over their players. It's Christian McCaffrey, Chris Olave, Devonta Smith, Damian Pierce, Justin Herbert, Jahan Dotson, James Cook, AJ Dillon, Zay Flowers, Treylon Burks, Jalen Warren, Chigozium Okonkwo, and Jacoby Myers. So I guess you could go into there. I kind of already may have spoiled how I feel about this team, but you can go into what you think about the starters first. So what do you think about the starters?
They have an unbelievable team. An obvious single weak spot at tight end.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I love this team. He wasn't able to get any kind of stack with his quarterback, but that just can't happen sometimes when, the major stack is also a top pick, He wants to get Eckler, but, he took McCaffrey. I guess if he knew he was going to eventually get Herbert, maybe he takes Eckler instead of McCaffrey at 3 and 4.
He couldn't really get a receiver.
You can't really plan for that. And, Keenan Allen, maybe it just didn't fall to him. It wasn't possible.
Yeah.
But besides the one little nitpick, tiny nitpick of no stack and the tight end is a weak spot. But the tight end being a weak spot meant that he picked up a lot of value other places like Jahan Dotson and Damian Pierce, James Cook, players like that. So I gave him an A for his starting lineup.
I 100% agree with you. I gave him an A as well. I mean, my main note was elite talent at every position besides tight end. I mean, it not only is it great talent, but it is a lot of upside. Every single starter is on an upwards trajectory besides maybe literally Christian McCaffrey, who's the number one running back.
Right. So he's already at the top.
He's already at the top. But he drafted they drafted so much talent. I was in love with the starters. And even Chigozium Okonkwo, he's my guy. I have him on my dynasty league. I love Okonkwo. We've talked about Jahan Dotson all year. I've talked about Herbert. I love Herbert. I've talked about Damian Pierce. I love Damian Pierce. Chris Olave. I love Chris Olave. It's insane how many people they got. Even Zay Flowers. Even we talked about Zay Flowers. The starters are insane. I mean, I guess Zay Flowers isn't a starter, but I mean, I love this. This is this was a dream team. Yeah, it's a good time and definitely contend. I think they're top two team on my list. So possibly number one. We'll see. We'll talk about that later.
Yes, we will.
But I guess. Anything else you want to say about the starters before I go into the bench?
What else do I want to say?
No?
We covered it.
Awesome.
I guess just if McCaffrey stays healthy, then which he did last year for the first time ever, full season, that's his only concern. And yeah.
Awesome. I love the starters, but what I actually love more than the starters is the bench. I think the bench is perfect. Not like the starters, you have literally the 1 weak spot at tight end, but the bench is an A+. I think it's an A+. I think it's the perfect bench. No wasted spaces, but also huge upside on every player. You even have a droppable player in Jakobi Meyers, depending on how he does week 1. And I think that's like you don't know how he's going to do, but like you'll know right away his involvement. I think you have AJ Dillon, Jaylen Warren, freaking amazing potential running backs. You have Zay Flowers, Treylon Burks, amazing potential wide receivers. It's literally the dream team. Like I don't know if they like listen to our podcast and like took a bunch of the picks that we like they knew like because they were drafting right next to me and I was so frustrated drafting next to them because there's so many good picks they had that I couldn't get.
And that could be my team.
Yeah, I mean, I really wanted Zay Flowers. I really wanted Jaylen Warren. It was just a great team. Like, I don't know what else to say besides it was a great team. So, A+ bench for me. What do you think? What did you give it?
I enjoyed the fact that they recognized like how many RBs and wide receivers they had and filled in the bench accordingly. Didn't waste any spaces with backups at quarterback or tight end. I like that Jaylen Warren, when Najee Harris looked, really slowed down at the end of last year, he could be ready to step up and fill a role. Treylon Burks, healthy. Derrick Henry opens up that offense. Zay Flowers. It's an exciting team. Jakobi Meyers in Vegas with Jimmy G is a question, but like you said, he's droppable. We don't necessarily know quite yet what that's going to produce, but that's just two downsides that we're talking about on a full team.
Yeah,
just because it's a bench, and I didn't want to give it an A. I was jealous.
Yeah, I gave it a B+. You gave it a B+. All right. So I guess for your overall, is that an A- then for your overall?
No.
Oh, what did you overall give it?
I rounded up. I gave him an A.
Oh, nice. Okay. Well, I gave the overall an A+. I rounded up.
What?
I gave it. This is one of my favorite teams. It's in my top 2 teams. I'll just say that. I won't spoil anything, but it's in my top 2 teams.
You essentially think that this person has a very strong chance to win the league.
Yes, I think they have the best chance or second best chance to win the league.
Okay. Fair.
So, yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to. We literally just boasted and bragged on this team for 5 minutes, so I have to agree with you. It's a very, 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 very solid team.
Yeah.
You sort of even look at it and just think, how is this team even possible? But
yeah,
he did it.
But when you see some of the teams later, you might understand how this team's possible.
What did his draft go?
What do you mean? Oh, McCaffrey, Olave,
Devontae Smith,
and then Pierce.
Damian Pierce, Justin Herbert.
Pierce. Yeah.
That's funny. I can just look at his team and I can just go through the order based on. And then what James Cook? We don't have to go over that, but that's a fantastic team. Yeah. He has like multiple second-round picks on one team. It's like it's a weird thing, but it happens. Good team, solid team.
Yeah, very good team. Yeah, I really like it. I guess we can move on unless you had anything else you want to say.
Congratulations on your championship, Alpha Kappa 11.
Yeah, we will not be shipping the trophy. Shipping not included.
Right.
But now we can move on to. This is the hottest of hot teams. The hottest. It was the spiciest. We'll say that the spiciest of spice teams. Well, this is my team.
I was going to say, we're talking about you, right?
Yeah, it's the spiciest of spice teams. It's like, I don't know what to think about my own team. My team is the LA Lambs.
But don't trust my opinion.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to trust your opinion on this one because I feel like I'm very biased about my team. So in the first round, I got Tyreek Hill. Second round, Garrett Wilson. Third round, Jalen Hurts. I had to get my boy. Fourth round is DeAndre Hopkins. Fifth round is TJ Hawkinson. Sixth round, Chris Godwin. Seventh round, Javonte Williams. Eighth round, Khalil Herbert. Ninth round, Brian Robinson. 10th round, Tank Bigsby. 11th round, Elijah Mitchell. 12th round, Kareem Hunt. And then 13th round, Jonathan Mingo. So, I have to excuse myself from giving rankings on my own team until I get all three of your rankings and you talk about my team fully. So, you have to talk about my team fully and destroy my team and tell me how bad it is. Before I speak.
Is that what you? All right. So straight away, looking at the starters, the glaringly obvious standout is Brian Robinson. When we're not even 100% sure what his role will be. I know you said you drafted him like super late, and he's a value pick, and you're hoping that you can plug him in. So I can't fault your logic, and I can't fault where you got him at, but we're not technically discussing that part of it. We're talking about he's in your starting lineup, sort of like a black and white situation.
Yeah, he could not be though. I guess he based off the draft, he would not be a starter.
Correct, but somewhere down the line, maybe on your bench, and we'll redo.
I am starting in week 1 too, so just.
I thought you drafted DeAndre Hopkins a little early. I wasn't, but he's still a solid Pro Bowler, future Hall of Famer. Should be reinvigorated and happy to be on a new team, so I fully expect him to produce. Garrett Wilson, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Hurts, solid first 3 picks. Javonte Williams, you bragged about him a lot. I followed up after you bragged about him a lot and read tons of amazing things that he's way back on track. The whole team looks solid. Chris Godwin, I gave you like a little bit of a negative mark just because we're not sure of the Baker Mayfield of it all.
Yeah.
So with all that being said, for your starters, which I very much enjoy your team, and I can envision what the starting lineup may eventually be, I gave you an A-.
Ooh, okay. That's much higher than I thought it was going to be.
For your bench,
ooh,
we downgraded a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Just a little bit. Yeah, I'm sure you're going to say that you love your bench, but you know what? Can't trust your own opinion about yourself. The grass is always darker on the other side. In this case, the other side is my side. Jonathan Mingo, I'm sure, young prospect, but we don't. Well, I say we. I absolutely hate Carolina. Fully expect them to only win like 4 games. New quarterback, terrible team. I don't know how much. You could go a full year and he never realizes any potential and just gets cut.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate that you have to draft a couple players with a little bit of upside. So I didn't knock you like super duper hard. Tank Bigsby, I'm going to just be 100% honest. I don't even know who that is.
Okay.
Never heard that name. So I guess that's a backup to ETN. They drafted him as a rookie. He looks really good.
I'll talk about it later.
Khalil Herbert, I like him, and because I fully expect the Justin Fields situation to continue where they're kind of running a lot and his passing isn't like super fantastic. I was a little worried about what is it? Deontay? How do you pronounce his name? Deontay.
Oh, Deonta Foreman.
Deonta Foreman.
Yeah.
There's some potential. There's some potential there for jostling for the starting role. Elijah Mitchell. And then you just drafted a dude who isn't even on a team yet.
Ooh.
So what is your grade?
Ooh, give you a C plus.
Ooh, okay. All right. Spicy. All right. So I guess overall,
for your overall team, where I now can factor in that you drafted a lot of younger players with upside and potential, and in unknown situations, you got a lot of good value in certain places with like Javonte Williams. I rounded up a little bit, so I gave you an A minus and a C plus, but I rounded up to a B plus for your overall team.
Oh, okay. All right, I'll take it. Based on how you've been grading so far, I will definitely take it. So I guess I will talk about my team and my thought process.
I have to talk about my thought process when I do mine.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah, a little. So, I guess for me, when I was doing all the mocks, I really liked drafting receivers early and going super wide receiver heavy. And I also noticed that I really liked getting, in the first 5 rounds, I liked getting a tight end and a quarterback. So essentially in the 3rd round, I would either go Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, or Mark Andrews. And then in the 5th round, I would either go like one of the quarterbacks like Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, or TJ Hawkinson. Because what I was noticing in all the mock drafts I did was that no good tight ends would fall to me. I couldn't get any good tight ends to fall to me in the 6th or the 7th round. And like the value wasn't there. So I really wanted to get like 2 elite 1 positions, like the onesie. So I do agree. I think DeAndre Hopkins, I'm not, I definitely I think I would have preferred to get Dameon Pierce, and that's someone who I was thinking about getting, but I ended up going with DeAndre Hopkins, and I don't know, I don't hate it, but I definitely I wouldn't say I would prefer Dameon Pierce. I think based on the way the rest of my team went out, I don't know. I think it's a solid pick for PPR, and I don't think it's great, but I think it has some upside if he gets back to his normal form. Now, for the obviously glaring thing in the room was the running backs. And essentially, my strategy was to draft a bunch of wide receivers and then just load up my roster with running backs that have huge upside. And I had I essentially got most of the guys I wanted besides Devon Achane. And the reason was because I got Khalil Herbert and Brian Robinson. And Devon Achane, I noticed, was sometimes going in the 10th round, and he went right after me in the 9th. So essentially, I got almost all the running backs I wanted. And specifically, I wanted to draft, obviously Javonte Williams and Khalil Herbert, I think are good upside play, great upside plays. I've heard so much good news about Herbert. I mean, he is the starter right now. Obviously, that could change, but I'm just hoping to get 2 running backs that work out. So that's why I feel like I have 5 upside ones. Brian Robinson, I think currently I've heard he's a starter. Tank Bigsby, I've heard, is taking a lot of work away from Travis Etienne. And then Elijah Mitchell is possibly going to get more work with the Niners, just because they might want to reduce McCaffrey's carries. Also, if McCaffrey gets hurt again, Elijah Mitchell's instantly a start. So that was my thought process. And my last pick was for running backs was Kareem Hunt, where I thought about this in all the mocks. If he gets signed, so let's say the Colts do really bad. I've heard he's already been talking with 5 teams about getting signed. I think he's going to get signed somewhere. My goal is if he gets signed in between week 1 and right after week 1, I'll keep him. If he doesn't, I'm going to pick up someone from the waiver wire. So that's my thought process. Same thing. Well, not the same thing, but with Jonathan Mingo, if he does well week 1, I'm going to keep him. If he doesn't, I'm probably going to drop him. So I think it will really just depend on how they do. I essentially wanted 2 players that have upside. If I did get Marvin Mims I was going to take instead of Jonathan Mingo, but he was taken like right before me in the 12th round. So that kind of sucked, but overall, I'm really happy with my team. I actually gave my starters an A-, which I think is, I don't know, you gave it the same grade, so hey, I'll take it. But I actually, the reason I gave my bench, I actually graded my bench higher. I think my bench is an A because it perfectly fits my team, is what I thought. Like I didn't waste any on backup tight ends or quarterbacks. Yeah. And essentially I out of the 5 bench spots, 4 are running backs. And essentially the thought process is I wanted volatility on people that can become starters. And I feel like I got 5 of those. Well, actually 6 if you Kareem Hunt, if he signs with the Colts, maybe. So yeah, I mean, that's my thought process. So I gave my bench an A, starters an A-, and my overall an A. But that doesn't count. Your grading is the only one that counts for mine. So I get a B+. I'm definitely biased.
You definitely know more than I do. So being biased but having more knowledge counter each other out. You can just give yourself an A.
No, I'm giving myself a B+. So fun time talking about my team. I like you getting to roast my team a bit. That was fun. Kind of gives me some realistic perspective too, because sometimes I get too hyped on players. I know I've been known to do that. Cough, Cortland Sutton last year.
I didn't even know who Tank Bigsby was. So like that's what I was saying. Like I didn't want to hold it against you because I'm sure he was. I just didn't know.
Yeah. He's one of those players that people in Dynasty talk about him all the time. So it's like if you don't play Dynasty, you're probably not going to know who he is.
Is he a rookie?
Yeah, he is a rookie. Yeah, and I think he was drafted 2nd round, maybe 3rd round.
Okay.
But essentially, they definitely want to use him, and he looks good so far. So I'm excited for him.
With a name like Tank, that's all.
Yeah, I guess we should probably speed it along, huh? We are not even halfway, so we're only 1/3 of the way through the teams. So looking like it's going to be a 3-hour podcast. We were a little bit off on that. But the next team is N22, who also did not change their team name yet, but their username is N22. But I guess I will go through their team. So in the 1st round, they got Austin Eckler. 2nd round, Davante Adams. 3rd round, Lamar Jackson. 4th round, Darren Waller. 5th round, Drake London. 6th round, Alvin Kamara. 7th round, David Montgomery. 8th round, Brandon Cooks. 9th round, Devon Achane. 10th round, Elijah Moore. 11th round, Roschon Johnson. 12th round, Marvin Mims. And 13th round, Rico Dowdle. So yeah, I guess I can go first on the starters because you did get to roast my team. So I actually gave their starters a B+. And I think this may have been a little generous now that I'm looking back on it, but I'm going to stick with it for now. A B+. I think they have good top end talent. I think obviously Austin Eckler, Davante Adams. I think Drake London is a good value. Obviously, they've reached pretty far on Lamar Jackson and Darren Waller, though. Maybe they wanted elite QB like Hurts or Allen to fall to them, and they just took Lamar because he fell or didn't fall. But Darren Waller before Hawkinson is a little thick, I think, for
questionable.
Questionable. That's the word I'm looking for, not thick. Thick is Different meaning. But yeah, I think they've reached a little bit. I'm not a fan of Kamara. I don't like someone not playing the first 3 weeks. I think they do have some good depth though, so I think they will help Kamara get back to form. But I don't like Kamara anyway. On top of like missing 3 weeks, I don't think he's gonna even be good when he comes back. He wasn't good last year when he should have been. He should have been good, and he wasn't. So I think he's lost a step. Essentially, that's why I've rated a B plus instead of higher. But I think I was a little generous. I probably could drop it a couple notches, but I'll stick with it. B plus for now. What do you think about the starters, Scotty?
I am a little biased because I like Lamar Jackson. I'm also a little biased because I did my grades after David Montgomery did very well on Thursday Night Football. But with all that being said, I still didn't go like super duper high on the grades. Elijah Moore as his wide receiver 2 when Njoku, Amari Cooper, and the run game is more kind of prevalent in Cleveland, so I'm not like super in love with Elijah Moore. I hate the Giants, so I don't like Darren Waller. A little bit of personal bias. Again, like Devontae Adams is one of those players that I think sees a fall off because Jimmy Garoppolo isn't a game manager.
Yeah,
the same way that Derek Carr was. I just gave him a B. I wasn't like
okay. That's not.
I mean,
that's not that bad for you're the Simon Cowell, so I don't think it's that bad.
Am I being too hard on him?
Oh no, definitely not. I think that's a fair grade. I mean, I gave it a B plus, and I think I could have gone a little lower, but I mean, I think there's some upside there. I think especially Waller. I mean, there's been a lot of hype about Waller. I don't know if you've heard it, but there's been a ton of hype around Waller. So
I know, but I just don't like the Giants.
I know that's fair. I mean, totally. I mean, Daniel Jones is a free agent in the league, so that's
oh Jesus.
Yeah, that's also something I guess why I think it's actually, a little interesting why people do draft 2 quarterbacks when Daniel Jones and Jared Goff are free agents. But
it's also interesting to think receivers on a team have any value when you think the quarterback is so bad that he goes undrafted.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a 12-team league, and we've been roasting people who drafted backups. So I guess that's fair to see Daniel Jones go undrafted. Maybe that, yeah. No, B's fine.
Yeah.
But his bench wasn't so nice.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Well, I guess we can talk about his bench now. Do you want to go first? I'm very curious what you're going to say about his bench.
All right. Based on how you talked about your own team, I know that you love this dude's bench. You said you wanted Mims. You said you wanted Devon. Who are we saying is his bench player? Like David Montgomery? Because Alvin Kamara is like technically the starter when he's back.
No, because the flex spots, I would say Montgomery and Cooks are both starters, and yeah, I think both of them are Like, I would say they're like the top 6 skill position players are starters. So
okay, so I do see that he drafted a lot of young guys with potential, but like Rico in Dallas is competing with Tony Pollard and the other guy Deuce Vaughn, who I've heard better things about than Rico. And then, like we talked about earlier, you got Khalil Herbert, Deonta Foreman, and now this guy Rashawn Johnson, who's also like the potential is there, but I think it's too unrealistic. He drafted the younger guys, but into tough situations. Marvin Mims, what would he be? Wide receiver 3 on a team that we roasted for a full season.
I mean, he is starting, so.
What is he, like a slot receiver? 5'11",
I think he's starting because I think Judy might be out. So
Judy, yeah. So okay, so he gets, but
we'll
this guy, yeah. I mean, he gets the benefit of getting like maybe the first couple weeks to sort of do like a show and tell.
Yeah,
I appreciate the. I did know all these names. Tank Bigsby. So I do appreciate drafting younger guys and trying to like have like potential. Like obviously you can't have a bench full of people who are like the first player in that position. That's unrealistic. But I don't think he was smart in the players that he did draft that are going into like too tough of a situation to realistically see like them ever touching the field. So I went with a B-.
B-, okay. Based on I thought you were going to give lower based on how you were talking about it, but okay. I mean, I definitely do not agree with you, but I like your reasoning.
I know you don't.
So I actually think they have great upside on every single player on their bench besides Rico Dowdle. I think, and that's a maybe. I think Dowdle has some possibility because, I mean, there were rumors at one point that they were going to beat out Deuce Vaughn, but now the Deuce Vaughn hype has gotten a little out of control. So I would not have drafted Dowdle, but I can see the logic behind it. And the one thing I do like about Dowdle is that you'll see right away, week 1, you'll know exactly how much he's involved, and you can cut him if he's not involved at all. So I think that's good.
That's fair.
I think he has really good players to fill in for Kamara. Like Montgomery is the perfect fit for Alvin Kamara. I don't even know if they played Montgomery, but assuming they played Montgomery, perfect fit for Alvin Kamara. And then A-Chain is a little shaken up, but I think he's playing. I obviously wouldn't play him week 1, but when he does heal, I think he's a great upside play, and it'll be great to fill in for Alvin Kamara. And just to see how he does. A-Chain is someone a lot of people are really hyped on because he's a smaller back, but he's really quick, and that fits the scheme really good in Miami. That's what they're looking for, So I think he's a great fit. It's the one place that people wanted to be drafted to, and he went there. I think Elijah Moore has upside. I'm not saying that he's going to be great, but I think you'll be able to find out after a couple weeks if he's going to be that guy. Marvin Mims, I really like. I know you mentioned this earlier, but I said I wanted to draft him as well because I think he has a ton of upside and he has a huge opportunity to actually play right away. So it's rare and like a rookie, you'll get to actually see how good they are right away. So yeah, I gave the bench an A. I really like the bench. I know. No wasted spots either. You draft elite quarterback, tight end, and you don't waste any bench spots. So I give the bench an A, which means my overall grade is an A-. I gave the overall an A-.
I gave him a B.
A B, okay.
A B.
A B.
Okay. A B as in boy. It's an overall solid team that I fully expect to like finish above 500. I am just not in love with the whole like drafting a bunch of rookies and just like it's like throwing darts at a map and you just hope something works to me.
Yeah.
But I do also understand why other people value that strategy, which is why it sounded like I was knocking on the team, but still gave them a reasonable score.
Nice. No, I like your reasoning, and I know we didn't agree fully, but our average is still a B+. So still a solid grade for them.
Correct.
Now we can talk about the worst team in the draft.
The worst bench, not the worst team.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. The next team is Checkered Past, who is owned by yours truly. I wasn't sure if you're going to announce yourself.
I would draft somebody who'd been to I just assumed that I would draft somebody who's been to prison. So I just,
oh my gosh.
Checkered past. Yeah.
Oh, I did not realize that was why you did the name. Okay.
I don't. But now looking at my team, I don't think that that's true. But
and is that why you picked Aaron Hernandez in the last round?
Could you imagine if he was still draftable?
Oh my gosh, that would be insane. But speaking of tight ends, your first pick was Travis Kelce. And you got the worst luck of playing against me week 1, but
we drafted before he got hurt.
We did draft before he got hurt.
Why he was still a first round pick.
Yes. We drafted, was it Sunday? Yeah, so it was before he got hurt. But yeah, I mean, first pick, Travis Kelce. Second pick, A.J. Brown. Third pick, Joe Mixon. Fourth pick, Aaron Jones. Fifth pick, Alexander Madison. Sixth pick, Mike Williams. Seventh pick, Jerry Jeudy. Eighth pick, Dak Prescott. Ninth pick, Jerick McKinnon. 10th pick, Juju Smith-Schuster. 11th pick, Rashee Rice. 12th pick, Deonta Foreman. And 13th pick, Deuce Vaughn. So I guess I'll go into all my ratings before I let you talk about your team, just like I let you do. So I guess I'll do the same. So for your starters, I actually gave your starters an A-. I really like your starters. I think you have great running backs with upside. I love Joe Mixon. I think he's a great value. Alexander Madison, I think, is a good value too, especially as your third running back. Start him in your flex. I guess, did we ever mention the league rules that we have 2 flexes and it's PPR? Because we've essentially you can start.
I don't even think we mentioned that there's 12 teams.
There's 12 teams. Yeah,
I just never mentioned it because we were too far in.
You know what? I'm gonna do an intro later, and I'll put it at the beginning. So, if you're listening, they've already heard the intro, and now we sound like goofballs. But
we'll just cut this part out, right?
Yeah, no, I'm keeping it all in. But I like your running backs. You have the elite tight end, which is always going to be. You're always going to have that upside against your opponent, except for week 1. You have solid receivers and a solid QB. But I will say I'm not a fan of Jerry Jeudy. He's banged up, and he might start the season slow if he doesn't do well, So I don't know. He could get hurt, whatever. I don't know what you're going to do with him, but I think I would be more okay with that if you had some like bench players that could kind of fill in for him. But I will say, so I gave your starters an A-, but your bench, I gave a B. I was a harsh critic of your bench. I gave a B. I may have been a little too lenient on the grade. I considered going a little lower, but I couldn't give you lower than a B because I think you still have some picks with some upside, but I think there's not a ton of upside in the players. I think a lot of the players can do well fitting in, like they can do well for bye weeks and stuff, but I think the starters for your team will be the key for success. Like I don't think if if one of your starters gets hurt, I think you're going to really struggle at that position because I don't think you have anyone on your bench that can like break out. And I think Rashee Rice is actually the only player with upside on your bench, possibly Foreman, but I personally think Foreman is like the third running back he's going to be the third running back, I think, because I think Roschon Johnson and Khalil Herbert are going to be ahead of him, especially as the season goes on. I think there's some upside, but I still think it's going to be capped because it's going to be a committee. And I think it's always going to be a flip of a coin. Like, is Jerick McKinnon going to get a touchdown? Is Juju Smith-Schuster going to get a touchdown? And I don't think you're ever going to have one of those people break out and become a weekly starter if you need that. So that's essentially why I think your starters are the key to victory. And I will say, though, that you drafted 3 Kansas City Chiefs, so that is a good bet to make. So I think that is a solid bet. And
not looking too solid after Thursday Night Football, however.
Apparently not. But I mean, you did draft Rashee Rice, and I did grade this afterwards, but I had in mind what I was thinking before the draft, because I do think Rashee Rice is the only player that looked good as a receiver in that game. So I gave your bench a B. So your overall, I'm giving you a B+. So yeah, do you want to talk about your team, your thought process, and then I don't know if you have grades, but you can talk about your grades as well.
I gave myself the same offensive grade.
Okay.
As you. I gave myself an A-. The Jerry Jeudy weak spot, I admitted, so I didn't go like all the way.
Got you.
My bench, I'm gonna be honest. My strategy that I've always drafted by when I do fantasy football is the majority of my bench is just, like you said, fillers for bye weeks. I don't do my whole entire bench and fill them with potential. I draft people that I know I can at least get like a certain floor. Yeah. And then maybe, because we only have 5 bench spots on this league, I don't put as much stock into like, oh, let me draft this guy and like hope that something happens. I did it a couple times, like Deuce Vaughn, Rashee Rice. I took a couple shots, and we'll see what happens. But I just gave my bench a C, man.
A C? Oh, okay.
I don't like it.
Who would have thought Simon Cowell would be harsher on himself?
I was looking back, and I was like, damn, like this is what I drafted. Like, why did I do this?
I mean, it does look a little worse after Thursday, because McKinnon and Rashee Rice both did terrible, but I don't think you could have foreseen that, So
maybe yeah. I'm being a little negatively biased because I'm looking at the scores as I'm talking about it. But then just overall, I gave myself a B.
B, okay.
I went on the lower side because it looks like I under averaged, because it doesn't look like now that I do have people who I can plug in on bye weeks. So it's not looking fantastic. So I gave myself an under average. Maybe I'll go above 500. I don't know.
I think you look, I think you have a solid chance to make the playoffs. And
what do we do? Half?
It's top 6, and then the top 2 teams get a bye. So it's like, ooh. Yeah, so first and second place, you really want to be first or second, and then like the next 4 play each other in the first round. So it's exciting.
Okay.
Yeah, like the old playoffs in NFL.
Correct.
Yeah, and then there's also a loser's bracket, and if you lose all of your games, you win the toilet bowl. So, if you are the worst team, you're the toilet bowl. Yeah, and you get like a little poop emoji next to your name.
Wait, a loser's bracket, like out of all the people in the playoffs, or the bottom 6 as well?
The bottom 6 are the loser's bracket only. So it's like,
oh my god.
Yeah, so there's the playoffs, and then the loser's bracket is like fully all the losers. So
brutal.
Yeah, brutal. Any other thoughts you want to say about your team before we move on?
I hope nobody gets hurt.
Yep, I agree with that sentiment. But I guess we can go into one I'm excited to talk about, because
team totally offensive.
This is my mom's team, totally offensive.
Let's go, Mom. Now that I know your mom, I am going to adjust your scores.
So her name is totally offensive, but also her team name is totally offensive, because I don't think when she made a username, I don't think she realized that was her username. I think she thought that was her team name. So she made her username her team name on accident. So now both are the team name, that's the opposite of what all the other people did. So I think that's funny. But yeah, I guess her players that she drafted. So first round, she went Saquon Barkley. Second round, Tony Pollard. Third round, T. Higgins. Fourth round, Jahmyr Gibbs. Fifth round, Deontay Johnson. Sixth round, Kyle Pitts. Seventh round, Michael Pittman. Eighth round, Mike Evans. Ninth round, Anthony Richardson. 10th round, Samaje Perine. 11th round, Rashad Bateman. 12th round, Kenneth Gainwell. And 13th round, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So, what do you think about her starters?
What do I think about her starters? Very solid.
Yeah.
Anthony Richardson as her QB is a sole weak spot. I like everything else. But I do appreciate that maybe part of her thought process was the stack with Michael Pittman, and maybe she weighed that stack into her thought process, and I'm going to give her credit for that, because that would be a solid choice. So, and you know what? Anthony Richardson, as I'm saying, he's like a potential weak spot. All of the reports coming out are that he looks fantastic, and he immediately looks like a franchise guy.
Yeah.
I gave her a solid B+ on the offense.
Oh, nice grade.
B plusy for Mom.
I like the grade because I gave her the same grade. I gave it a B+. Let's
go.
I think she has elite running backs, solid wide receivers, and a tight end. I really think the value on Kyle Pitts was insane here. It was like what tight end? It was like the 7th tight end off the board. No, it was 8th tight end drafted was Kyle Pitts. 8th tight end. So I think that's great value. He has the upside, below average QB, but I think a great upside with Richardson. And it's like you said, when you're betting on Pittman, you can kind of make the same consolidated bet. I know that she's been a Colts fan in the past when Andrew Luck was there. I think she probably wants to root for the Colts. So that's exciting. I will say I'm worried about the start of the season with Richardson, but there's a ton of upside in the starters she has. So if the players perform, this team could be unstoppable, in my opinion. It's
a solid team for sure.
Yeah.
Very solid.
Like Gibbs too, Gibbs, Richardson, they're all kind of, I'm a little worried to start the season, but overall I'm excited for the long-term value. I guess I can go straight into the bench, and I really like the bench. I may surprise you here, but I actually gave the bench an A. I think the bench is the strongest part of the team because I think it is a great mixture of upside and fill players. I think the upside is in Rashad Bateman and Kenneth Gainwell. I think those are great upside players because, Bateman was hyped up a lot, but obviously injuries have kind of hurt him a little bit, but he's the 5th receiver on her team. So she doesn't need him to perform, and she can kind of wait and see how he does. And if he does perform, then maybe sneak him in a couple weeks. And then Kenneth Gainwell, there's been a lot of hype in the preseason. I don't even know if she knew that when she drafted him, but she made a good call. So maybe I've just talked about Gainwell too, because I'm an Eagles fan. I don't really know. Mm-hmm. I think she made a good pick either way. And I think it's a great pick. I love those picks. And then she has good fill players with Samaje Perine and Mike Evans, who if a player gets hurt or if they have a bye, she can just plug them and play. I think they always have that potential to do good. Perine is going to catch passes somehow. I know I'm a huge Javonte Williams fan, but Perine's going to get work. He's playable. And then I think CEH is a great last pick because you see the utilization week 1 and then cut him if he's not utilized. And now that we're talking about it, we've already kind of seen him do that, but I think at the time it was a good pick. So I guess any thoughts on that?
I was a little bit more Simon Cowell than you, just because Rashad Bateman is a 4th option.
Really?
And he doesn't stay healthy. Yeah.
Who would you say is the 3rd option above him?
I would rank it as Andrews, Beckham.
Oh, you'd say Beckham ahead? Oh, okay.
Well, you're bringing in a veteran. I assume that they're planning on, at least at the beginning of the season, putting him to work. We'll see how it develops, but I assume the thought process out of the gate is like that's a three that like Flowers, Beckham, and Andrews is like the triple threat.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
I mean, I would gladly be wrong. We drafted Bateman a couple of years ago, and we've just been waiting patiently for him to stay healthy and like see what he can do when he gets a full season. And then he finally kind of stayed healthy, and Lamar got hurt and then sat out. So we still really kind of haven't seen the full potential there. But I gave that a little bit of a knock. The Eagles suck, so drafting Gainwell, anybody from the Eagles is immediate. No, I'm kidding. I'm a little worried because there's tons of options in Philly, but we talked about Gainwell a lot. We thought, and we talked about it a lot before they brought in DeAndre Swift. You and I both agreed, I think, that Gainwell easily could have just won that job and just been the guy, but something was discussed and they didn't trust him with the role or something. Yeah, so they went and got another player. So that's like a little like just going to get Swift. That action alone, somebody decided Gainwell's not the guy.
Yeah,
and I just don't like Edwards-Helaire. So, but because she has Deontay Johnson, who is obviously a very solid fill player, could eventually start by the end of the year, but definitely good for bye weeks. Samaje Perine definitely going to get work. He did very well in Cincinnati, even when Joe Mixon was healthy, but especially when Mixon was hurt. Perine came in and just like dominated for like a month stretch and then Mixon came back, whatever.
Yeah,
I gave it a solid score. Let me go look. I gave it a B.
B. Okay.
I wrote down just a mid B.
Okay.
I think the main knock was Edwards-Helaire, and that was before. I would have thought that before seeing him actually play.
Okay, cool.
To be fair.
No, I think that's fair. So I guess overall, then I gave it an A-, and would I be correct in assuming you gave it a B or B+?
I gave a B+ for offense, starters, a B- for bench, and I didn't average. I just gave her the B+ because I don't, the starting lineup looks solid, all very solid, and then you got a couple people on the bench that can fill in on bye weeks. I believe it rounds together very well, and I didn't want to downgrade the B+.
Awesome. Sounds good. So
good team.
Good team. Yeah. Solid team. So next team is Jay Mucci 3142.
This was the
all right. Now that we've talked about Jim Mucci 342, next team is.
I mean that could totally just be correct.
That could be. So obviously, I mentioned this to you earlier, but Jay Mucci, this was their first fantasy team they've ever drafted. They've never played fantasy football before, so I want to give them the benefit of the doubt that they were just kind of going based off players they liked and stuff. But I do worry, like. There's a certain point, like, you have to critique the team, like I don't want to be I don't want to be too la-di-da and just they have potential, because I don't think this team has any potential. Like I don't think if this team is not a bottom 2 team, I will be surprised, and those are harsh words, but I think it needs to be said because there's no upside, really. There's, I think, a couple good players, and that's about it. So I guess I'll go through the entire draft. I think listeners will understand once I start talking about picks. So first round was Patrick Mahomes. Second round was Amon-Ra St. Brown. Third round was Kenneth Walker. Fourth round was George Kittle. Fifth round was Terry McLaurin. Sixth round was Aaron Rodgers. Seventh round was Christian Kirk. Eighth round, Zach Charbonnet. 9th round, Dalton Kincaid. 10th round, Cortland Sutton. 11th round, Damian Harris. 12th round, Jamison Williams. And then 13th round, Zay Jones. So, yeah, I mean, there wasn't a ton I liked about this team. I'll let you go first with the starters, though, if you want to. Do you want me to go first?
I'm just gonna quickly talk through some stuff here. I'm gonna bench Zay Jones and put in Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Okay.
I'm gonna bench Charbonnet and I'm gonna put in Kenneth Walker. And I'm gonna bench Dalton Kincaid and put in George Kittle. And that's how I'm gonna grade their starting lineup.
Okay. I don't know what that means, but what grade did you give it? I think I can assume this one.
I'm just gonna. They got Patrick Mahomes.
They are starting Cortland Sutton in their starting lineup. I think
they have Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, they have Christian Kirk and Zay Jones. They have. I'm giving them a. You know what? C.
Wow.
I didn't grade it before. I'm doing this on the fly.
You didn't give a grade?
I didn't grade it before because it's the one I told you when I was just looking at it. It was so confusing. I was like hurting my brain trying to figure it out. C. I'm just going C for Cortland Sutton and Christian Kirk and yep.
Okay. So I give this a C minus. I think. I mean, I said Mahomes in the first round. And also Kittle in the 4th. Both of those are way too early. Like, Mahomes definitely can go in the 2nd. Kittle is going in like the 6th. Kittle went before Darren Waller and TJ Hawkinson, which, I mean, I think it's just way too early. I know sometimes you got to get your players, your guys, but I think it is a little early. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Kenneth Walker, Terry McLaurin. And then Aaron Rodgers in the 6th. Doesn't make any sense. They drafted a backup QB and a backup tight end before filling their roster. So it doesn't make sense to me, especially when you have an elite quarterback and tight end. You're never going to start Aaron Rodgers over Patrick Mahomes. You're never going to start Dalton Kincaid over George Kittle. It doesn't make sense to me. I think the whole lineup didn't make sense. And now you're stuck in a position where you're starting Cortland Sutton, Zach Charbonnet, week 1. I'm not a fan of that. I think the value for the starters is not good. I mean, it's a tough draft. I think when you do go into these blinds, sometimes it just kind of. I think my first draft probably looked something like this. I know I drafted a QB in the first round, and I drafted a second QB pretty early too. So it's like a learning experience. I think the upside, there just isn't any upside. I think some of the players are good, though. Amon-Ra St. Brown, I really like. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is a good player, so those kind of work out well. Kenneth Walker, he picked a little early, too, but yeah, I'm not a fan when Zach Charbonnet is your running back 2. And yeah, I mean, Cortland Sutton starting is definitely risky, I'll say that. Yeah, I mean, it sucks when you have like a new player and you want to see them do well because you want them to really love it. I just think this is going to be a rough year, and I hope I'm completely wrong. I could be completely wrong. I do like some of the players. Like I like Zach Charbonnet, but I just, when you already have Kenneth Walker, you're starting two Seattle running backs. Like there's not any upside there. Mm-hmm. It doesn't make sense to me. So personally, yeah, I gave it a C minus. Could be wrong, but I just don't see the upside. I would bet money they don't make the playoffs, which is a sad thing. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the starters. Any last thoughts on the starters before I go to the bench?
They got Patrick Mahomes.
They did get Patrick Mahomes, so you never know.
maybe not good value for their draft position, but
yeah,
they have the player who at the end of the season will have the most fantasy points out of all the players potentially.
So,
that's why I went with a C instead of a C minus.
Yeah, you know, no, I can't. I'm sticking with C minus. Sorry. So for the bench, I guess I'll get right into the bench.
C minus.
C minus. There's no reason to roster a second QB or tight end when you draft elite quarterback and tight end. And to draft QBs in the first and the sixth, it hurts your upside so much. You just lose a player essentially, like an elite player, a really good player. Like imagine if they drafted Mike Williams. I mean, that would be a great wide receiver. And now you just have a quarterback you're never going to play except for 1 week. So really stings to see that. Also, the other bench spots, Damian Harris doesn't have any upside, and that's you only have 3 running backs, and 2 of them are on the same team. It's also impossible to roster Jameson Williams with such little depth. They only have three like skill position players, and Jameson Williams is out the first 6 weeks. So yeah, I mean, I still give it a C minus. I do like Zay Jones a lot, but it's not going to save the draft grade from a C minus for me. So sorry, Jay Moochie, but yeah, C minus. Any thoughts on the bench?
Not positive ones. No, it's definitely a C minus. You drafted the wide receiver 2 that's suspended when you already have wide receiver 1. You drafted a backup QB that's guaranteed just to only ever take up a position on your bench. Same with the tight end. Multiple running backs on the same team. I gave him a C minus for his bench, and I under averaged to an overall C minus because the bench killed any, like, there's nothing, like, if anything goes wrong in your starting lineup, you put yourself in a position to have nothing to fix it.
Yeah. Yep. I agree.
Sorry,
but
buddy.
you literally never know. Like, I know we are talking all this. Oh no, we really talking trash, I guess. But we don't like the team. But I mean, you never know. I personally do not think there's a chance that they make the playoffs, but they could prove us wrong. Like Christian Kirk, Terry McLaurin could be great. Yeah, it's just really hard because I feel like even the people that have upside, like the bench spots, like if the player does well in their starting lineup, then the other player has to do bad. So it's like the upside is not there. But yeah, overall is a C minus for me as well. Sadly, I wish them the best of luck, but I guess we'll see on Sunday what happens. So next team
Ricky
is Rick, the original OG, and their username Rick Knoll. So again, this is another person who this was their first ever draft. Definitely some picks I like, some room for improvement. But yeah, we'll get into that, I guess, later. I guess I'll first just mention who they drafted. So in the first round, they drafted Nick Chubb. Second round, Najee Harris. Third round, Deebo Samuel. Fourth round, Brandon Ayuk. Fifth round, Brock Purdy. Sixth round, Pat Freiermuth. Seventh round, Dalvin Cook. Eighth round, Jordan Addison. Ninth round, Rashad Penny. 10th round, Odell Beckham. 11th round, Kenny Pickett. 12th round, Devin Singletary. And 13th round, Jalen Hyatt. So I guess I will talk about the starters first. So I don't think this is like if they are right about some of the players, I think there's a chance at least they could do well. I don't love it though. And I'm giving their starters a C. It's not the same as the last lineup because I think some of the players are good. It's just they don't really work well together. For example, Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk as your first 2 receivers is not great because they kind of cap each other's upside.
And it's stacked with Purdy.
Yeah, and it's stacked with Purdy. So you're betting so much. And you drafted Purdy like 7 rounds above the ADP. That was by far the biggest reach in the entire draft. And when I saw that, I was shocked because Trevor Lawrence was still a quarterback available when Brock Purdy was drafted, which that was wild. That was definitely the biggest reach in the draft. Obviously, clearly a Niners fan, so I get it, get your guy, but you have to get the value. Like Tyler Lockett's still on the board. Miles Sanders. There's so many good players. So I think some of the picks are good, but the value wasn't there. It is good to consolidate a bet on the Niners, but I think 3 of your top 5 picks being in one offense is incredibly risky, and it makes it essentially that the Niners have to be the number 1 passing offense in the league, which, I mean, I don't think is going to happen, but it's just such a risky bet to make, Like, yes, if the Niners are that, then this team will be great, but they have to be like Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill last year, So I just don't think that's going to happen. And yeah, I mean, I just think the upside's capped. What do you think about the starters? Do you agree with me?
Oh, I agree with you across the board, man. You should never be starting. You can have both guys and like a handcuff situation if we had more depth on our bench.
Yeah.
You want to have both guys, but I don't think it's feasible to be starting both because like you said, usually one does well, the other sort of had an off game or just wasn't in the plan that game. But then when you also take the quarterback, now you put yourself in a position where if they come out, say it's a bad weather game or they just don't show up that day, now you're looking at 3 low scores because one offense didn't show up. I don't think it's smart to put yourself in that position.
Yeah.
Not a big fan of Najee Harris. And again, he stacked the same offense. He has Pat Freiermuth as his tight end.
And Kenny Pickett.
Oh, yeah, on the bench.
Yeah.
Dalvin Cook, I don't want to say he's like the clear number 2 because you don't bring in a guy like that and not give him a chance, but everyone was kind of in love with Breece Hall.
Yeah, and right now he's starting for him too, so I think that was...
him a C.
Oh, sorry.
I gave him a C+. They're fine. They're starting who?
Yeah, they're starting Dalvin Cook in their flex spot, one of their flex spots. So I just think it's super especially because James Conner, Cam Akers were still on the board. Like they definitely could have got one of those guys. So C+ I think is a good grade as well. So all right.
My main thought process was there's too much. So basically, like if San Francisco and Pittsburgh, just 2 teams in the whole entire NFL, 2 teams don't show up and just have a bad day or play a team that's out of their mind that day.
Yeah,
you cannot possibly win.
I would even say if one of the teams has a bad game, you probably lose. So
yeah, but I'm just trying to be super dramatic. Imagine the Niners and the Steelers both just don't show up.
You get 10 points.
You could be looking at like 20. I was going to say 20, but like, you shouldn't let that be possible. So I understand that you're a big fan of San Francisco and you kind of went for it, but our unprofessional opinion is that is a losing strategy that you should avoid.
Yeah. Now, do you want to talk about the bench?
Not particularly. I'll tell you that I gave him the minimum grade.
Oh, okay.
No, I meant to say I gave him a lesser grade. Okay. That's what I meant to say. I went from a C+ on the offense, and I came down to a C- on the bench.
Okay.
Not a big fan of the backup quarterback.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I feel like most of my thought process is like personal bias, and most of yours is like value in the draft and upside, whatever. But like Rashad Penny, who's coming into DeAndre Swift and Kenneth Gainwell, like a huge competition there.
Yeah.
It's a total gamble to try to pick who's going to come out on top. Devin Singletary, I don't think he's like super fantastic, but it was smart to draft the backup to a player who got hurt last year just in case it happened again. Jalen Hyatt, nice, not on an awful team, even though I don't like them. I'll switch it to a C.
Okay. Switching it to a C. Okay. Well, I'm actually, I liked it a little more. I don't think it's, I think there is some issues with the bench, obviously. I give it a B minus. I think there's not great upside. I do think because I did count Jordan Addison as a starter, so I didn't count him as a bench player. But I think the wide receivers have solid upside. Odell Beckham, Jalen Hyatt, I think both of them have upside. Not great upside. I think the running backs are in committees, though. All Rashad Penny and Singletary are both in committees. Even Dalvin Cook, who is in the starting lineup right now, I think, is in a committee. So it's very hard to know when to play them. That's the trickiest part. So you're never going to know when they're going to do well. Even if like one of the players on the Eagles gets hurt, you're not going to know when to start him still. I understand Singletary is a handcuff, but I don't even know if he'll get all the work if Pierce goes down. The one pick I did like was Kenny Pickett, but at the same time, it's like you already bet so much on the Niners offense that Purdy has to do good. Like, I don't know if Pickett really changes too much. Like, I don't think you're ever playing Pickett over Purdy, but it is an option. I mean, if they drafted Purdy in like the 10th round and then Pickett in the 11th, I would like those two together, you know? Like, I think they both have some upside. But because you drafted Purdy so early, you kind of have to have him do well for your team to do good. Like, not just well, like the number one offense in the league. So that's the only reason I don't love the Pickett pick. The Pickett pick, but I just like him as a player, so I'm a little biased. And I think that's why I gave him a B minus. So yeah, overall,
not bad overall.
Yeah, what do you have overall?
I averaged up for this one just because I can see the potential side of San Francisco repeating as the great offense that they are, and a couple younger guys like Najee Harris and Jordan Addison who could still prove to be worthy. So I didn't average out. I kept them at a C+.
Gotcha. That's actually what I did too. Well, I guess mine averaged out at C+, but yes, I was C+ as well. So, I mean, it is your first draft and you're rooting for your team, so I don't hate it in that aspect. I mean, the point of fantasy football is to have fun, so I think they're going to have fun rooting for their team. When the Niners win, their team's going to do well, you know? So maybe not win, but yeah, you know what I mean. But yeah, that is that team. Only 3 more to go. We have 3 more teams, and it's only been 2 hours. So we're not speeding through it. We'll just say that. So next team is Hail to the Whatever. They have the same team name as their username. So Hail to the Whatever. Their first round pick, Bijan Robinson. Second round pick, Derrick Henry. Third round pick, DK Metcalf. Fourth, Amari Cooper. Fifth, Tyler Lockett. Sixth, DeAndre Swift. Seventh, James Conner. Eighth, Dalton Schultz. Ninth, Cole Kmet. 10th, Kirk Cousins. 11th, Adam Thielen. 12th, Derek Carr. And 13th, Gerald Everett. Yeah, that is what you think it is. So we'll talk about that when we get there. But I guess, do you want to start off by grading the starters?
First thing I want to say is I think it's a sin to draft anybody from Arizona when they have publicly announced that they are intentionally going to win 0 games. I don't know. They definitely didn't say that, but that's obviously the vibe.
Yeah,
that's the word. That's the word going around these days. They're vibing.
The vibe is tank.
Gerald Everett is an interesting choice when you drafted 3 tight ends in 5 rounds. That's the one you're starting. It was an interesting choice. I like Derrick Henry. I like Bijan. I like Kirk, DK, Amari. Love Tyler Lockett. So if we're isolating
which we have been doing so far. We
Yes.
isolate just the starting lineup.
Yeah.
If I don't scroll down to the bench and I just give him a knock for James Conner and Gerald Everett, I gave him a B plus.
Okay. B plus. All right.
For the starters.
For the starters.
Got to be very clear here.
Very clear. So I'm actually even more bullish. I give the starters an A. I really like the starters. You know how high I am on Bijan Robinson. I might even draft him above Austin Eckler because I like him as a person, and also just I'm excited to watch him, and it's exciting to watch him. I think it's going to be at least. So I think the running back, he has elite running backs, especially with Derrick Henry as well. So elite running backs, and I think they could be the best in the draft. Probably are. At least those top two. And then great wide receiver value. I love Metcalf, Cooper, and Lockett. Like all of them. I understand Metcalf and Lockett are going to be competing, but at the same time, I'm not totally against specifically those two because they have done it in the past. It would be like Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. I'm not totally against it. I don't think it's great. I think I possibly could mark this down to an A- because they're both on Seattle, but yeah, I still like it. I think the QB value was great. I love Kirk Cousins for the value. I think that's amazing. The tight end will get a couple points, and that's what they drafted them for, I think that's exactly what they needed, especially with the elite people at the other positions. So, I mean, yeah, I gave it an A, which that's about where if you're listening to this right now, you can just stop it right here and just just stop listening, just take the A and be happy with it because
you're breaking the scale on the bench.
Yes, the bench I gave a C-. I don't understand. I don't understand what they were doing. They drafted. There's no reason to draft three tight ends and 2 QBs this late because you can pick up any of these tight ends or quarterbacks. If they didn't draft them, they would probably still be on the waiver wire. Like I don't think they're going to be taken. So I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense to me. There's no reason to do it. You're gonna find some people on the waiver wire already. I don't get it. And then Adam Thielen also has no upside. I do not like Adam Thielen. Not a fan. I don't know what's going on here. I honestly would cut everyone on the bench except like their running back, I guess, whichever running back they put on the bench. But I would cut Adam Thielen. I don't even know which tight end you keep. You keep one of the tight ends and you keep Kirk Cousins. And I would cut Carr. Like I don't get it. I really don't get it. It was such a good team too. Like I feel like, I mean, I still think they can compete because they have such good starters, but I don't understand the bench. Maybe they are planning to cut all these people after week 1 and it will make me think differently about their team. But yeah, I think if a starter gets hurt on this team, they're going to struggle. So that's kind of what I think. Any thoughts on the bench?
DeAndre Swift has a chance to be the number 1 guy in a good offense.
See, I actually counted DeAndre Swift as a starter, but he's technically starting James Conner this week. So
Adam Thielen is throwaway. 2 tight ends. I'm gonna give him an F, a C-. I'm gonna give him a C-. And because the bench so catastrophically increases the chances of disaster for the rest of the team, i.e. no plugins at all if something goes wrong, or even on a bye week, which is supposed to be planned for.
Yep.
I did not do the proper average.
What's your overall grade?
C.
A C. Oh, that is That's a harsh one.
There's the bench. The bench adds literally zero for the team. His players and upside and value have to all be realized. Have to all have zero mistakes, zero problems. If there's any mistakes or any problems, or he was wrong about any one player, that whole team crumbles because he now has to scramble to the waiver wire, which is empty. So because he set himself up to so easily fail, that was a big knock in my ratings scale.
I mean, I think that's a fair point, a really fair point. I gave the overall grade a B because I do think there's upside there. I mean, if after week 1 they drop a lot of the bench players, I mean, I don't even know which tight end you keep. I think you probably keep Kmet or Schultz, but you could keep, if Everett has a really good week 1, maybe you keep him. I don't even know, but I think you can only roster one tight end and one quarterback. And I mean, you could probably get away with keeping 2 tight ends, but you have to cut Derek Carr, I think. And I think Adam Thielen has to go too. And then if you pick up 3 players that did well week 1, put some fab into it, I mean, you could recover. I'm not loving it. I don't love it, you know? The starters are so good. That's what kills me. The starters are so good. But what can you do? I guess maybe they're betting on trying to find a really good tight end or quarterback, but yeah, I don't think they needed to do that. They could have picked up a tight end that did well on the waiver wire and had some better stabs in the dark for tight end or for wide receiver and running back, you know? So, yep.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we can move on. We have 2 left. We're almost there. We're almost there, Scotty.
We're almost to the promised land.
And then we have a couple other segments in the video, but we're getting there. So the second to last team with the 11th pick is the Clickable Ideas, who T. Spurls is the owner. And this is one of my coworkers, so I'm going to make fun of him a lot for auto-picking. Because I messaged him, reminded him about the draft, texted him, "Are you ready for the draft?" And then turns out he's out and about. And to be fair, he does have a kid, so he's with his kid. I get it. You're with your kid, out and about. But he auto-picked the whole draft, and I'm still going to make fun of him for it, even if he has an excuse that actually makes sense. So I will say he did get some good value besides the first pick. So you can keep that in the back of your head when we do these ratings. So his roster, first round, Cooper Kupp. Second round, Josh Jacobs. Third round, Keenan Allen. Fourth round, Mark Andrews. Fifth round, Trevor Lawrence. Sixth round, J.K. Dobbins. Seventh round, Cam Akers. Eighth round, Marquise Brown. Ninth round, Tua Tagovailoa. 10th round, Kadarius Toney. 11th round, Tyler Higbee. 12th round, Ezekiel Elliott. And 13th round, Rondale Moore. Whew. Okay. Do you want to go over the starters first?
Do I want to go over the starters first? Yeah, let's do it. All right. As previously discussed, we don't draft any Arizona players, so not a big fan of Marquise Brown. However, before he got hurt in Arizona last year, he took the league by storm for like 2 or 3 weeks. But no Kyler Murray. They're clearly tanking, so that's a throwaway. I mean, obviously Cooper Kupp, who's not even going to play, but so like wasted a first round pick on a guy who you don't even get to use for a month.
Yeah.
Ugh. This is a tough one because like individually, the players don't seem terrible. The auto pick really lets you down, brother.
Yeah, it does.
What did I give this? There are some shining lights. If Josh Jacobs, Really having a hard time talking myself into being super nice here.
Simon Cowell coming out.
Well, let's just give him a B minus. When
B minus. Okay.
When everybody is, let's go B. When everybody is healthy and it rounds out, I can see this team being a threat.
Yeah.
But based on like where they drafted the players and what we knew at the time, there were some mistakes made. Yeah, B's fine.
Yeah.
B's still a compliment.
I think that's a solid grade. I actually was higher. I gave them an A minus. Obviously, I'm extremely worried about Cup, and that was the only reason that it was an A minus and not an A, actually. Because besides Cup, I thought the value was great. It was, Mark Andrews, amazing value. I talked earlier about how I was going to take Mark Andrews at the beginning of the third round, and he got him in the fourth round. So I don't know how he fell that far. I don't know how people let him get away with taking Mark Andrews in the fourth, a couple picks before George Kittle. He also got Trevor Lawrence after Brock Purdy. I know I'm picking at straws here, but I think the value on those positions was great. I personally like Marquise Brown. I really think again, this is just, if you were at the draft, you could have not drafted Cooper Kupp and been fine. You would have been great. And yeah, besides Cooper Kupp, I love the value. I think overall this team has a really good chance if the starters work. If Cooper Kupp comes back and he's great, then yeah, I think it's good. But I'm definitely worried about the bench, which we'll talk about right now. Because I think I gave the bench a C+. I think having a backup QB and tight end with Kupp out and he's going to be out a while from what I've been hearing. So I don't think that's good. And they also got Rondale Moore when they already had Hollywood Brown, which is not good. I don't think both will do well. I think you have the chance one of them will do well, but definitely not both. I think Ezekiel Elliott doesn't have upside, really. He's a good fill player, but I don't think he has upside. I think Tony is a good value and a roster fit. So that, for me, that's what's boosting it from a C to a C+ is Tony. I think Tony is a good pick here, has the upside. Obviously, now that we know Tony is not good, I think it's different from when originally it drafted him, So I'm giving the bench a C+. What are your thoughts?
I did C.
Okay.
As previously discussed, when you only have 5 bench spots, wasting bench spots on QB tight end is a big no-no.
Yeah.
Drafting Rondale Moore when you already have the other. Basically, you drafted 2 wide receivers on a team that is supposed to be basically like just winning like 1 or 2 games all year.
Yeah, exactly.
Kadarius Toney, we can't fault them. There was some potential there.
Yeah.
Zeke Elliott, I don't think we see much from him. Maybe goal line touches, but Ramondre Stevenson's a big guy too. Man, can I C- this bench? I'm doing it.
You're changing it to a C-?
I'm doing it. C-. Right. I talked myself into it.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough. I guess for overall, I graded them a B. Just averaged out from A- to C+. So I think there is some potential with the starters, but I don't know. We'll see. What is your overall grade?
I average out to a C+, but I'm going to switch it to a B-.
Fair.
Just because I can see this team, if they're healthy and a couple things work out, they definitely win. I can see this team not being like awful. I would like if I was going up against this team, I'm not thinking I automatically win.
Yeah, definitely. I feel the same. I feel the same way. Like they have some upset potential. So I think there's some hope.
Let's give the auto draft a B minus overall.
Nice. Yeah, I gave it a B. You gave it a B minus. I think both fairly solid. So now we can get into the last team. We made it almost made it, and that is K Money's Moneymakers. So this is again another coworker of mine. 12th pick. They drafted Diggs, Stephon Diggs in the first round, CeeDee Lamb in the second, Calvin Ridley in the third, Justin Fields in the fourth, Miles Sanders in the fifth, Dallas Goedert in the sixth, Rachaad White in the seventh, JSN in the eighth, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Quentin Johnson in the ninth, Jamal Williams in the 10th, Geno Smith in the 11th, Tyler Algier in the 12th, and Deion Jackson in the 13th. So, I love the starters. I guess I'll start, if that's okay, because I love the starters. This is my favorite team for the starters. And I gave the starters an A+. I gave the starters an A+. That is correct. You're hearing that right. A+. I think they have the best receivers of any team. Stephon Diggs, CeeDee Lamb, and Calvin Ridley is insane. And on top of that, JSN or Quentin Johnson as well. That's insane to me. I love the receivers so much. They have an elite QB, Justin Fields. I think they kind of had to reach a little bit because of their position in the draft, but I think it worked out for them. And then they got Dallas Goedert at a great value. He was the ninth tight end off the board? That's insane to me. I think that's crazy. I think the value is insane. Oh, wait, no. He was I was going the wrong way on the draft board. He was the sixth tight end, but still, I think that's great value. Still great value, and I love those players. I think the running backs are solid. They're starters. They're gonna have decent weeks and be solid enough so your wide receivers can carry you, essentially. I think the upside is insane. And yeah, the second flex spot does have a bunch of rookies, but there's some great plays on the bench that we'll talk about later. So I love the starters. I think the elite upside gives the starters an A+ for me. What do you think about the starters?
I was a little less nice than you. I did not give them an A+. I gave them. I think I went A minus, but that's harsh. I'm gonna give them an A.
Okay.
The only part that I don't like is Miles Sanders, who switching to a new team that is very clearly the worst team in that division, potentially the worst team in the whole entire NFC. How much are they really going to be running the ball?
Yeah,
that's just one. That's one little knock on a otherwise very solid starting lineup. I like a lot of their players. Deion Jackson's a solid gamble. We're not even sure Jonathan Taylor plays at all the entire year, so that's definitely worth a risk. I like the whole team.
Yeah, awesome. And I guess since you kind of were talking a little bit about the bench, but what do you think about the bench?
Again, negative for the backup quarterback, even though it is Geno Smith, who we both love.
Yeah.
Jamal Williams gets to fill in for a month while Kamara's out. Algier is there if something goes wrong in Atlanta. Quentin Johnson and Njigba are both very solid. Not only filler players, they have potential to be very strong players and take over flex spots and get into the starting lineup without waiting for injuries or anything like that. If it's hard to overlook that they just missed a little bit of value. It looks like they could have potentially had another running back.
Yeah.
They have a lot of wide receivers. They do have a lot of running backs, but you can't help but think they could have just taken one more little gamble on another running back. What do we say here? We'll give him a B. If B John doesn't get hurt, Algier's wasted. When Alvin Kamara comes back, Jamal Williams still gets goal line but loses 3 down work.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a slight knock. Geno Smith is a slight knock. Yeah, I'm comfortable with a B. It's a very solid bench.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I think you have some good points, but I was way nicer. But
I know.
I actually really liked the roster construction of the bench. Like, I think it fit the team really well. Besides Geno Smith, I do not like Geno Smith, which I probably should have brought this down a little bit, but I gave the bench an A. So I gave the bench an A just because everyone besides Geno Smith, I really, really liked for the roster. Like JSN, Quentin Johnston, I really like. And because they're like rookies, they're going to take a little time to warm up. So that's why I really like Jamal Williams and Deion Jackson. I think those would be great, like right now starts to help them transition into the rookie role. And then you're going to be starting 4 wide receivers. You're always going to be starting 4 wide receivers. And then the 2 running backs, you're just going to be having Miles Sanders, Rashad White. So because of that, I think those are good. Like the whole roster besides Geno Smith on the bench, I really like. I think Algier is a good pick to see utilization because I've heard they might keep him running and like might move Bijan around. I think they're going to play Bijan like crazy, but there's a chance Algier does get more work. On top of that, if Bijan gets injured or something, Algier is going to be top 5 running back. I mean, maybe not top 5, but at least a running back 1. He'll be a running back 1. Again, don't understand the Geno pick. There's equal talent on the waiver wire. And on top of that, you could have just picked up another running back or someone. You could have picked up Ezekiel, maybe not Ezekiel Elliott, but Kenneth Gainwell. I don't know. You could have picked up someone. Maybe didn't like the value, but I personally would have liked someone else, but I still give it an A. Even though that I just really like the players, and it probably would have gotten an A+ if Geno wasn't there, if they had someone else. But yeah, I'm giving it an A. So, and because I'm generous, I'm giving the overall an A+. I am matching my other A+ grade. I think this is the other team that's a top 2 team. I love it. I love the team. So I'm gonna propose a 13-player trade tomorrow. Try to trade all of our players.
Just trade for the whole team.
The whole team. Just trade the whole team. Whole team swap.
Be like, hey, I'll pick up a couple of your shifts and do some of your work for you if you just give me your whole team.
Yep, exactly.
I'll edit that video for you. You just slide that whole team over here.
Yep, that's the plan. I gotta do some bribes. I guess. What did you do with this? Did you average it out evenly, or did you slightly like bump it up or bump it down?
I kept the A. I kept the A-.
A- overall. All right.
Yeah. It's a very, very, very solid team. If Miles Sanders turns out to be better than I'm giving him credit for, and he comes to his senses and cuts Geno Smith and picks up somebody who does well week 1, stuff like that can make this a team that could win to a team that will win. And it's very hard to be 1 or 2 moves away from, having a very scary team, and that's where he is right now.
Yeah.
So I'm solid with an A-.
Awesome. Yeah.
Good job, money.
I like it. Yeah. So that's all the teams. We made it all the way through. It only took us 2.5 hours. So
was that all 12 teams?
That was all 12 teams. We made it. So
all right. The rest is rapid fire from here. And now, time for Ask Anissa, where I ask my wife a fantasy football question and she knows nothing about football.
That's that was a weird one. So it's weird hearing someone else say that because
was it? Did I get it right though?
You did get it right but it's weird. So
yeah, I guess I did. I did say my wife, yes. Anissa. I should have said instead of just trying to do the intro for you, I completely mimicked you.
Yes,
which I can understand is she's not my wife, but I thought it was funnier if I just said it exactly as it is.
It was
my bad.
It's okay. I'm going to dub it over with Now it's time for Ask Anissa, where I ask my wife, Anissa, a fantasy football question. She knows nothing about football. So, Anissa.
Yeah.
What offense are you most excited to watch week 1? A, the Washington Commanders. B, the Green Bay Packers. Or C, the Chicago Bears.
Let's do the Washington Commanders.
I knew it. I knew you were going to do that one. All right. Lock it in. Now it's time for the book club, where we pick one guaranteed bet and put our fake money where our mouth is. It's the book club. The book club.
I get it because the sports book.
Yeah, the sports book. We're using the bookie and we're making bets. So this is where we're going to talk about our betting challenge, because we've been doing this for over a year now, and Scotty already hit the punishment once. He had a collapse and he lost a bunch of money, but now we've been going for a solid year. Both of us have been up and down. Scotty is at 110K. It's down, but then back up again. So we'll see. It's a good trajectory, I think. 110K. I'm at 169K. We're both up. We're both positive because we both started at 100K. So, but yeah, I guess I'll go straight into my pick. And it's going to be a 10K bet. You have to make it 10K. We did this before. Put our money where our mouth is. So 10K bet. So if you did 5K, you have to double it. So I put a 10K bet on Green Bay minus 2.5 points. The odds are plus 123. They're actually underdogs to the Bears. And, I mean, Justin Fields said he wants to make the Packers his daddy. So I think that just means that he wants them to beat him.
Lose.
Yeah, he wants the Packers to beat him. So
What a weird thing to say.
Yep, he definitely misspoke, but
I think he wants to be the daddy of the Packers.
Is what he meant to say. But he said he wants to make the Packers his daddy. So I'm betting Green Bay wins. I already like Green Bay anyway. I think they're underrated. I think the Bears are overrated. I mean, I think for fantasy they're really good, but for actual football, I think they're bad. And yeah, great odds. 10K bet for a chance to profit 12.3K. So yeah, I'm putting my money where my mouth is. Scotty, what is your bet for the book club?
I went much safer than you did, because I thought that we were supposed to be this is supposed to be like our locks, like
yes,
make a bet that's going to win.
Definitely.
So I went with the Baltimore Ravens to beat the Houston Texans at a spread of minus 4.5.
Oh, okay.
I moved the line a little bit from where it originated.
Yeah.
So $10,000 is going to win me 4.7. It's a weak bet, but in terms of like how much it pays, it's weak.
Yeah.
But I might have misunderstood. I thought we were just picking like I'm announcing a bet that I would actually put my money on. Like that's how confident. Like if I had real money, I would do it.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair. I don't think that's
okay.
Yeah. I think betting's safe too. It's like, you're not going to get as much upside, but it is safe. So, and that's the thing.
I will take further risks in the future.
No, it's fine. You can do whatever you want because who knows? Maybe next week I'll do a safer bet. So,
I don't want to have to sing an embarrassing song on TikTok. So,
fair. Yeah, you need to catch up to me. I'm on a heater right now. So, I almost got 450K on Thursday when CEH almost got 2 touchdowns. Because that really almost happened. So, but yeah, jokes aside, I'm excited. I think yours definitely is likely to hit, but I don't know. I think mine has a chance to hit in too. I think it's over 50%. I really think the Packers should be favored in this game. So, yeah, that's my thoughts. I guess we can go straight into the matchups if you want to. Do you want to go straight into the matchups just real quick, rattle through some matchups, or do you want to play a game?
We can do matchups.
Okay. So, quickly, I'm not even going to talk about the matchups really. I just want to talk about matchups I'm excited to watch. So first off, I'm excited to watch Jacksonville versus Indianapolis. I really want to see both of those offenses, especially the Colts. I want to see how well they perform in a real game against a solid team. So that's my thought. any matchups you have, or should I just go through all of mine?
I'm excited for the number one game that I want to see that I unfortunately work and will not get to see the first half.
Oh no!
I really want to see that Monday Night Football game, man. I want to see the Bills play the Jets.
Okay.
I just can't wait to see that first Aaron Rodgers in New York in that green and white. I'm hoping he fails. Just going to be honest. I wish I could watch it because I want to see him throw an interception on his first drive. And everyone's like, oh, my God, we were wrong. He hustled us. But all jokes aside, I think it's more likely that he goes out there and puts together a solid performance, as does Allen, and we get a Monday Night Classic. I'm excited. That's my number one game that I want to watch.
Number one game. I like it. I won't talk about my number one game yet, but another one I'm excited for is the Cardinals versus the Commanders. And I'm only excited for this because of fantasy and because I've put a lot of bets, and maybe not bets, but like I've just talked a lot about Washington and excited about them. And there's a lot of players. I want to see how they do. Sam Howell, the receivers, Dotson. Also, Brian Robinson, I think he's going to be the starting running back. I think he's going to get most of the work. I am excited for Washington. I want to see how they do. That's all I'm going to say about it because I don't want to talk about the Cardinals. So, any thoughts? I guess any other games that you want to see?
Any other games that I'm overly excited? I think the next game on my list that I'll be excited to watch is going to be the Steelers versus the 49ers.
Oh, I like it.
I'm excited to see Brock return.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see if their offense and defense can pick up where it left off. Number one in almost every single category across the board. They had a whole season to hopefully improve.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you're an Eagles fan, so I guess you're not hoping to improve. But from a fantasy perspective, if you have stock in any of their players starting the season off against the Steelers, who just are a historically tough team to play against, is a good little benchmark for how the season will go. So I'm excited for that.
I didn't even have that on my list, but I'm excited to see Kenny Pickett. And this is like the hardest test right off the gate. So if the Steelers are what I think they are, I think they might be able to perform against the Niners, but we'll see. I think it's the toughest matchup, so I think what's likely going to happen.
Matchup for week one.
I think it's not going to do great, and I think that's going to make people think the Steelers are terrible, but I'm a little worried about it, so I'm not like super excited, but hey, if they do really well, then I'll be over the moon. My next matchup I was excited about was Miami Los Angeles Chargers. So yeah, Dolphins Chargers. It's just going to be a shootout. That's I think it's going to be fun.
It should be.
Yeah, it should be. It should be. Yeah.
I'll be nervous about that one, as I do. I would think that every Miami fan will share that sentiment. Every single time Tua gets touched, it's going to be like people holding their breath, like, please get up. Like, how much longer can he play taking the abuse he's taken? What did he have, 3 concussions in one season?
Yeah.
Most players hit that 3rd concussion mark, and they're like, you know what? I don't want to risk my life and my future. I'm just going to call it here. Enough is enough. I clearly am more susceptible to concussions than most people. I just got to be safe. He had concussions in back-to-back weeks where they somehow missed that he had a concussion and let him play, and then ruled he had a concussion the next time, which almost guaranteed to mean he had a concussion the whole time. He didn't just have the one.
Yeah, I agree.
So I will watch every single snap with bated breath, hoping that he is able to stay healthy for the whole season, not just for that game. Yeah. That is an exciting game. I'm glad you picked that one.
Any last games, or should I talk about my last one?
I am excited to watch Mr. Unlimited try to overrule all of his negative hype. Week one, if he comes out and puts up a good performance, all the offseason hype I would be excited for him. We can change the name of the segment where we make fun of people.
Nope, still not happening. I'm keeping it.
What if he went 17-0 and set every QB record possible? Would you change the name of the segment then?
He's still so goofy though.
He is so goofy. That is true. The whole segment isn't based off his on-field performance as much as it is his off-field antics.
Yeah,
it's a fair point.
Awesome. Well, my last pick for games I'm excited for, and this is actually my number one excited game, ironically, because I don't really have that many players in it, but Green Bay at Chicago. I really, really want to see how Green Bay does. I really want to see how Justin Fields does. I want to see if they're throwing more. I want to see all of it. I want to see it all. I've talked about Green Bay and Chicago a lot. I'm invested now. I have my bet on Green Bay. I want to see this game so badly, and I'm excited for it. But that's my last matchup. Anything else you want to say, or any other matchups you want to talk about?
Except for that, I'm rooting for the. Sorry, my mic just fell. It just broke.
You're fine.
I was gonna say that I kind of want to root for Chicago in that game, but I'm excited more, I think, to see the Jordan Love hype.
Yeah,
because there's been a lot of positive praise, about him coming out of the off season and all the practices and training camps and everything. And I'll be interested to see if it's true, right? You just sit there and you just watch a future Hall of Famer just run the team for so long. Does that equip you to be able to come in and do the same thing when the time comes? So I'm excited to see that first full game. He's under center. He's in control of the team. Can he withstand that's a big pressure moment, and I want to see how he handles it.
Awesome. Sweet. Well, I think I'm good. I don't know if there's anything else you want to talk about or any other surprise segments you have for me. See, I feel like it might be different if it was at 2 hours instead of 2 hours and 46 minutes in the recording.
I'm just gonna rapid fire it.
Okay.
All right. I thought it would be funny if I set a line for over under on positions, on players / coaches losing their position. I'm going to do running backs, quarterbacks, and head coaches. I'm just going to set a line over under if they lose their job. And we're not going to go based on who we think is the starter currently, with Gibson and Brian Robinson Jr.
Okay.
So you got to wait to see the first couple weeks who is the established starter. Then once you know the starter, then if they lose it from that point, that would count.
Okay, got you.
Not we were just wrong.
Okay.
All right. At head coaches, how many head coaches will be fired before the end of the season?
Okay.
Over under 1.5.
Oh, and this is what you think, right?
No, I'm asking you to actually predict.
To guess? I'll go over.
Yeah.
I'll go over.
All right. Quarterbacks that may or may not lose their job.
Okay.
Over, under 3.5. Starting quarterbacks starting week 1.
Include injuries?
No.
Okay.
They have to lose their job based on performance. They went out there, they stuck. Correct.
3.5.
3.5.
I'm gonna say under 3.5. I think that's probably wrong, but
under 3.5.
Yeah, since no injuries. Yeah.
And we're going in ascending order.
Okay.
Running backs. How many running backs will be the starter but finish the season? Now, if they're still in some sort of committee and they still play, but you just know, they're not the primary guy anymore. We'll just know.
Okay.
Right. I'm not saying they fully get benched and never see the field, but they lost priority.
Okay.
Over, under 5.5.
Over.
You over?
Over 5.
So confidently.
Yep.
I thought you'd at least think about that because I almost did 4.5, and I was like, you know what? I'll give him a little bit of a more of a test. I'll go 5.5. Let him think about it. You didn't even hesitate.
Nope, not even.
All right, let's do it. All right, we'll see. I wrote those down. So hopefully at the end of the year, we'll be able to come back and check on that prediction.
Awesome. Sweet. I like it. Fun segment. I guess we can call it here before we lose our voices anymore. So I guess it's now time for your strong opinion of the day. Are you ready, Scotty?
I'm so ready.
And that is that having multiple receivers from the same team in redraft leagues should never be done.
Thank you for listening to the NFL Saturday podcast. Follow us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and TikTok at NFL Saturday.